It's 6:36. I'll call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We've got a long one, so appreciate those who get to hang with us till the end. If you please stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Rory, would you call roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Glover.
Here.
Sorry. Sperry.
Here.
Gettle.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
And Robinson. Here.
Thank you. All right, first up, we'll hear the Unified Police Department report and hear from Chief Thomas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just looking at our audience, it almost looks like police training. Everyone always sits in the back. It's just odd. First of all, I want to mention I don't have the monthly stat report completely done as of yet, but I did run the preliminary, and we have 856 cases that we did last month. Oh, sorry. 933 traffic citations were issued. Only 73 of those were warnings, fairly significant. You can tell Christmas is coming because of the selective traffic enforcement shifts. We did 168 hours of extra shifts just doing citations throughout the city looking for traffic violations. So it is a busy time of year. We're trying to get the public to slow down, be more wary of our traffic signals and stop signs, et cetera. Just want to give you a brief update on our 3 officers that were involved in our critical incidents. One has come back to work, one is due to come back to work fairly soon, and another one, he's still kind of working through that incident. We're quite worried about, each one's mental welfare when they come back to duty and make sure they're able to fully come back. We did have our first Code Blue alert. I want to thank Matt Dahl for putting that out, kind of a double redundancy there, but we have Sergeant Richardson that also will get a notification on those. Along with that, we've worked hand in hand with Public Works. I want to thank Councilman Gettle for pointing out what appeared to be a fairly small encampment along the Jordan River Trail that turned into, I think, 2.5 dump truck loads worth of backloader equipment, just garbage taken from the trail, and that's literally within feet of our waterway there. So we're trying to stay on top of that. Also, Councilmember Robinson notified us of one she could see just as she came up 215, and we worked with not only cleaning that up, but making contact with the person that was living there, and rather than take her to jail and cite, and we tried to give her a chance to clean her own stuff up there and move on. So we hope that remains that way. Part of the problem we're seeing is a lot of the fences that keep them away from perhaps UDOT property or the frontages along the tracks lines, they consistently get cut. And I know that Public Works has helped in getting some of those fences mended or at least repaired. And it seems like often within a day or two, they're cut again to get access to those hiding spots. So we'll stay real proactive as far as that goes. Along with Public Works, we want to look forward to our first snowstorm that comes up. What we're going to do is, if we can predict when we get that at least 1 inch of snow where it's within the ordinance in Midvale City, our officers are going to go out and basically do a warning blitz. We're going to try to cover the whole city as best we can, depending on call volume, but we're just going to take down license plates and leave warnings on every car that's parked on the street when they're in violation of that snow ordinance. We'll record those in our report management system, and that way in the future, if we come across those same cars parked on the roadway during a snowstorm, we can feel more inclined to give a keeper citation to go visit our courts. We look forward to this upcoming Saturday. First of all, in the morning up at our Walmart, we're going to do Shop with a Shield. That's where the sheriff's office as well as Unified Police collect money all year long. They pick out families and they take them, some families that need a little bit of assistance with Christmas. If you notice, or if you're aware of the policy at UPD, you can't have beards. The female officers can't have colored hair or fingernails, but if you pay a little ransom, it goes to Shop with a Shield, and we overlook those beard. And a lot of people pay good money for a beard, right, Mayor?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah. I don't disclose that information.
Yes. So we look forward to that. It is a festive Saturday. And by the way, the following Saturday at the same Walmart, the Rotary Club will be doing something very similar. We are going to provide an escort for their buses from the Les Schwab up to the Walmart, and they will be doing a very similar activity. Also, next Saturday night, we're going to support Midvale City with the Light Up Midvale, Maine, and we'll be out there having a great time with you all. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank Councilman Sperry for everything you've done, not only for Midvale City, but public safety and unified police support. You will be missed. You can call. You got my cell phone. You got the secret BAT code. You can call anytime you need. We're happy to. We're going to miss you. And that's all I have to report. Any questions or comments for me tonight? Thank you.
Saying none, thank you. Well, Chief, that was a perfect segue into our next portion on the agenda. Councilmember Sperry, I partially expect you to just like jump up out of your seat and go. I thought it'd be fun to roast you during this portion, actually. I thought that would be kind of fun.
I'll roast myself.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I feel like maybe in the last year I've seen your kids more often than you've seen them, so I hope that you get some time. Sorry, I had to say it. I almost didn't, but I couldn't help myself. But really what I want to do with this is we're all going to, I've got some words that I want to say. We'll then go around the council if any of you want to take that opportunity to say any parting words for Quinn. As you mentioned earlier, you still technically have about a month, but this last council meeting, and then we'll go to senior staff. If you, no pressure, you don't have to say anything, but I just want to provide the opportunity. I know, now if you don't say something, you'll be the jerk, right, Glenn? Yeah, you will. Really for me, Quinn, as I came into this role, I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. But I knew a few of the council members, but you were not somebody that I knew. And as I was coming in, I had this thing in my head of going like, I don't know, I'm like a little more liberal and I think he's a little more conservative. Maybe we're not gonna get along and I don't know how that's gonna go. But truly, in my time, you have been kind, thoughtful, helpful throughout. Your leadership on this council is always just incredibly appreciated. The way that you are able to speak with residents as they come in and have frustrations or concerns, and you can talk straight with them, but also hear those concerns and ensure that they are heard. It's truly something that I hope to emulate in my work. You leaving this council is a loss for our community. I truly hope that you get more time with your wife and kids and with your golf clubs as you step away from this position. But it really is a loss for our community. It's a loss for this council. It's a loss for our staff here. So I so appreciate the opportunity I've had to work with you and appreciate everything you've done for our city.
Thank you, Mayor. Am I excused now?
Yes, you can go.
Not yet.
I'm just gonna go down to Paul and we're gonna work this way.
Okay. Quinn, it's been a fantastic time working with you, a lot of fun. We've seen a lot of ups and downs and a lot of different things, but it's been really wonderful. I appreciate you a lot, and you've added a lot to Midvale City. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Gallen.
Quinn, I have nothing to say to you. No,
He gave me a gift already.
I did give him a gift. I know it's like a political nerd thing in me, but I've always called Quinn our Anthony Kennedy. And as Anthony Kennedy's time on the Supreme Court is becoming like a thing of the past that fewer people remember, he was the swing vote on a lot of important issues. Quinn has always kind of been our swing vote as well. Typically, what Quinn wants done happens because he is typically the third vote for it. Whenever there's any sort of, not controversy, we haven't had too many things that have been that bad, but, whenever we're divided 2-2, kind of whichever way Quinn goes is the way the wind goes. So I've always appreciated, how you take a look at issues, break them down logically, and, come up with, we haven't always been on the same side of those 3-2 votes. There have been some ones where, I was part of the 2 and you were part of the 3, but I don't remember many where you were part of the 2 and the rest of us were in the 3, because Quinn seems to take a very reasoned approach to everything. One of my favorite moments with Quinn happened just this October, and it was during our candidate forum. Sitting in the back with him, there were some moments of levity, I will say, during the candidate debate, and it was fun sitting back with Quinn and commenting on some of those funny breaks. I will say, though, I was close to telling Quinn to quiet down just a little bit, and that's saying something for me, who, I'm a very chatty and loud person at times, but we will miss you for sure, and I've gone over my allotted time. Come back and see us often. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes, I just want to express my gratitude for Quinn. And a lot of people maybe don't know this, but our paths have crossed in a lot of ways, not just on council. We're both attorneys, and he was ahead of me. So as I was going through law school in the process, I looked up to him. Our siblings were married at one point even, right? So in every way possible, me and Quinn had a lot of connections together. And I originally sat where Heidi's sitting now, and he was really good at walking me through the process and making sure I was sort of not making a fool of myself, as I'm very good at doing anyways, but at least procedurally and whatnot. So I appreciate him. I think he has a very level head. His family's an institution in Midvale. I mean, his dad's still on the ballot for the water district or whatever.
And he won.
And he won again, yeah. So the Sperrys are very important to Midvale, and I'm assuming if he's like his dad and whatnot, he will still be a big asset to the community, whether it's just, maybe he won't be sitting right here on Tuesdays, but I'm sure we'll see a lot of support from him. So I appreciate you.
Councilmember Robinson.
Thanks. I too just want to express my gratitude. I think especially coming in as the new kid and being able to sit by you was a huge benefit, and probably part of the reason that I'm staying here and continuing to do this. So just want to say thank you for me personally and also for the residents of Midvale.
Thank you. Now, Quinn, what do you have to say for yourself?
No, we're going to senior staffers. I won't pick on senior staff like I did on the council members, except for Matt.
I don't consider it picking on, because I do just want to, it's really important to me to say that I think that you are and have been a great council member. But just as important to that, you really are a great person. I think that how you just treated my daughter just a few minutes ago is really exemplary of that. In some ways, while we've worked together now for almost 6 years, in some ways I feel like I've only really gotten to know you in the last year. And in some ways that kind of makes me sad, because I've really had some great conversations with you and like spending time. I know that when we talk about things, we're not always going to agree. There are murals you have different opinions about than I do, and some stuff like that, but you'll always...
Which one?
You will always be willing to have a reasonable conversation on stuff and talk things through, and that's important to me and to our staff and for our community. And I hope that not having to be here doesn't mean that you won't be around, because we like to see you every time you come around, and you will be missed. So thank you for all you've done. It's been a pleasure to work with you.
Look, no pressure. I wanted to extend the opportunity.
You don't have to say anything, it's okay.
I'll just say a couple of things, just echoing Matt, and maybe from the staff perspective, you've always been a great council member for staff, and a very consistent, logical way of kind of evaluating what we bring to you, but also have been very supportive of staff. I think since I've been here, then there's been a lot of ideas that we've brought that maybe aren't traditional things that Midvale has done, and you've always been supportive of those and willing to see how those go. So we're very thankful for that. And then I think I've always enjoyed when we've gotten to the RDA section of the meetings, and those have been fun. I don't want to encourage anything to go wrong tonight, but those have always been a nice change at that late point in the meeting.
It's the Quinn Gone Wild hour.
That is, we try to see how many times we can get the mayor to roll his eyes at me. That's usually what it is.
I second the appreciation for the levity at the late hours. And unlike the chief, my number will not work anymore. Kidding, Quinn, kidding. Thank you you have been a great council member and great for staff.
Mayor, I would also like to second, third, 11th, everything that's been said. It's been a pleasure to work with Quinn. He really makes the night fun. I mean, it's a fun council meeting when Quinn's here. I hope you coach. Bonnie, please tell her that she needs to make some of these jokes to keep everybody awake and alive and make it really fun. We're really going to miss you, Quinn. Thank you.
Quinn, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you and all of your dedication to Midvale. You are a true statesman, dedicated, and I've learned a lot from you watching you on the dais, and how you can really listen to everyone's opinions and take it into account and not just go based on your personal opinion. And I just really appreciate that and respect you very much, and you're going to be missed a lot.
And I'm not nearly as articulate or eloquent as anyone else here, but I will say that my career has generally followed, I think, your leadership on this council. I think when I came in-house was about the time that you were appointed to fill the seat here, and then you've been here ever since. So I very much appreciate the leadership that you've had in Midvale my entire time here, and the representation you've had for your district and for the community as a whole. I've also very much appreciated your support within the last year of being able to attend some conferences with you and get to know you a little bit better, and be able to talk on a non-Midvale level about work and careers and all that fun stuff. So you will very much be missed, both as staff, but also the community.
Okay, with that, we have a proclamation honoring you, Councilmember Quinn Sperry, that I'm going to read. Whereas the City Council and City staff of Midvale City desire to formally express appreciation to Councilmember Quinn Sperry for his long and distinguished service. And whereas Councilmember Quinn Sperry was elected to the Midvale City Council and served from 2014 to 2024. And whereas Councilmember Quinn Sperry served on numerous boards on behalf of Midvale City, including the UIA, Utah Infrastructure Agency Board, Utah League of Cities and Towns Legislative Policy Committee, Shelter the Homeless Board, and the Community Council. And whereas his time of service has been marked by exemplary dedication to and advocacy for Midvale's residents and businesses. And whereas he has worked constantly for the betterment of the city's economy, cultural, and aesthetic development. And whereas Councilmember Quinn Sperry earned the respect of Midvale City staff and the community by being kind, generous, funny, and fair. And whereas it is fitting that in conjunction with the conclusion of Councilmember Sperry's service as a council member and in formal recognition of his numerous contributions and his distinguished service to the community, Midvale City Council, Midvale City staff, as well as our residents express to him our sincere thanks for his dedication and leadership. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Midvale City, I, Marcus Stevenson, Mayor of Midvale City, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby officially proclaim our appreciation and gratitude to Quinn Sperry for his loyal and dedicated service to the community. In witness thereof, I have hereunto and fixed the seal of the City of Midvale this 6th day of December 2023.
Don't stand.
So, Councilmember, we do have a little gift for you. Just a small token of our appreciation, a little gift here that we hope you can use in your extra time. So that is there. And we're gonna do a quick photo. Laura, we're gonna do a quick photo.
I hope there's a pygmy goat waiting for me outside somewhere.
Good news.
You have to come get,
okay.
stand out on the side.
Where's Lily?
Well, I'll be in it, but you guys.
Should we have Quinn on our shoulders?
No.
We could carry.
Yeah, I just had like PTSD and being a child, and my mom always taking pictures of us.
All right, Quinn, your embarrassment's done. Please move on.
Thank you.
Okay. Matt's maybe gonna go free Lily. We'll
No,
see.
you don't have to.
We'll see.
You made him feel bad.
All right.
I was told she's freaking out back there.
Oh, okay. Just stay back there, man.
I'm
Like
sure
I
it's
have authority to do anything, command him anything.
All right, we're going to move into any public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda may address the city council at this time by stepping to the microphone and stating their name for the record. Do we have any public comments? Lorraine, sometimes I'm a little generous if on time, if we only have one person commenting, but we have such a packed agenda. I do want to keep you to the 3 minutes. Yeah.
343 pages worth?
We,
I went through it.
It's busy.
Did I take
so-
as much time as you did? No. Am I gonna stay for the whole meeting? No. Because I've got other things to do and I had to come here tonight to do something.
Okay, well, take away and just please state your name.
Lorraine, Lorene Butler. Quinn Sperry. It's been a long time. And it's been a great ride. You've been great. I've appreciated your response when I've been really out of control. I've been grateful for the calmness and for the interaction that we've had forever. You have been a great friend to some pretty good kids that I know. And you've raised some really good kids. It's been wonderful. And I appreciate the fact that you took a whole lot of time out of your life and your family's life to be here, because it's not easy. And I wanted to make sure that I did that publicly so that it's on record.
Thank you.
And they know that I really appreciate you. Okay? All right.
Thank you. Tell your kids hi, too.
I will. I'll tell them all because they ask about you all the time.
Well, tell John I'm upset he didn't invite me to the turkey bowl for Thanksgiving, but that's okay. There were pyrotechnics and everything. I had to hear about it
Did
from
you see
someone else.
It was awesome. My son is an insane child, and you know that. I will tell him, and he will invite you next year.
We just don't invite the fire department. So,
I've known him for a long time, obviously. I also wanted to come up and thank all of you that were able to come and visit with our neighborhood on Saturday. Appreciate the fact that you were out there freezing your tails off. I appreciate the fact that you would come, and that others that I invited were able to be there, and others were not. It was an interesting dialogue, and like I said, by the end of the day, we were freezing forever. And there was a couple of questions I have. Are you able to answer questions in this or not? Because I have a feeling that I can't ever get my questions super answered, if that makes any sense.
I would prefer, again, just with the time tonight, if you
Well,
want to
no, I
state
know.
them and we can, I can make sure that we follow up with you
Okay.
on that.
Okay,
So,
all right. Well, thank you, and anything that I need or I can do, I appreciate it. Okay.
I think the mayor did say you could ask the questions.
yeah.
Well, it's okay. I will wait for the questions.
Okay.
And then I will,
If you want to send me an email too, or call and we can talk about that, we can
I'll just
track down the answers.
CC everybody and do it that way so everybody will know. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Do we have any other public comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move into reports. I hope everybody just thanks Quinn again and we just repeat everything we just did. No, I did want to talk about the Maple Street tour. So as part of the GEO bond, one of the 4 trails, there's the neighborhood that this trail goes directly behind has some concerns about that, and they asked us to go meet with them. And so on Saturday morning it was quite cold. I don't know exactly how cold it was, but man, it was cold. We went and met with that neighborhood, walked the trail. I really appreciated it. For me, I think while perspectives are different and the details of how do we address the issues that we're seeing in that area might be different on those approaches, that overall every conversation I had was a recognition that the current setup of that trail is not the benefit to our community that we want it to be, and so how do we improve that? And so I felt like we had really good conversations, and again, appreciated Councilmember Glover being there, Nate Rockwood, Matt Dahl, and Chief Thomas, all taking time to be there, and to Lorraine for organizing that neighborhood. We had really good turnout, so just appreciated being able to do that. And to my wife, who came with me and stood in the cold. That was very nice of her to join. Secondly, as the chief mentioned, we've got Light Up Main Street this Saturday. On Main Street, 6 to 9 p.m., we're doing the tree lighting at 6:30. So if you plan to be there for the tree lighting, make sure you're there at the beginning. One of the exciting things we're doing this year is we've got a holiday market, lots of locally handcrafted crafts that you can come by. So I'd say bring your wallet and come look out for those unique gifts for family and friends. That's all I've got. Councilmember Glover.
Yes, it was, that walk with the neighborhood was enlightening, and I think it's really an opportunity for us to listen to our citizens and try to do what we can to help them. Quinn, goodbye. No, again, it's been really wonderful working with you. The only other thing I have is if you're really interested, Monday night, there is a budget meeting for the mosquito abatement district. Really thrilling stuff, so you're welcome. Out by the airport.
Okay.
That's it.
I did just remember one thing that I should mention before I forget. I've mentioned this to you all before, but the Unified Fire Service area is going through the truth and taxation process for a 12% tax increase. If you remember, this deals with, generally UFSA has done tax increases about every 10 years. The last one they did was 2018, I believe. I'm looking at Chief Larson, yeah, with the head nod. That one, they didn't quite plan for that to last 10 years, but also with just all the inflationary needs we've been seeing, it really ate up that tax increase pretty quickly. But we also, in the UFSA fire stations, we have gone from 3-handed crews to 4-handed crews. That deals with safety, as when there are fires, you send 2 in at a time and then 2 stay out, and this way they can rotate. And so that was part of the increase, as well as the bonds that were taken to do all the upgrades to fire stations, to make them seismically retrofitted, or to build new fire stations like our 125. All of those bond repayments are coming in. So those 2 major items, and then again with inflationary costs on top of it. The public hearing was last night. There were 2 comments. one against and one more just looking for information around it, with only about 6 members of the public who came, and again, just the 2 public comments. The UFSA board will vote on that increase on Tuesday morning at 8:30. Councilmember Gettle, we're going to skip over Quinn. We'll get back to it.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll try to be brief. My grandmother once said that I was vaccinated with a phonograph needle, and that's a dated reference, but still kind of accurate. I did want to thank Public Works and UPD directly. Chief mentioned the encampment that we had to clean up on Monday, and just the scope of what was left behind can't be understated. It was, quite a messy area, and so close to the waterway, which, that kind of disturbs me as well, because, there's biohazardous material at that site so close to a protected waterway. So I know unsheltered individuals, especially in the wintertime, it's just such a difficult issue where you feel bad for people. Of course, you want people to be able to be warm and stay where they're comfortable, but, I just think that close to a protected waterway is definitely not a great place for anyone to be. And the amount of time that it took Public Works and UPD to secure the site, clear the site, that's just stuff that goes unnoticed as far as the true cost of unsheltered individuals throughout the state. So I hope, I know Mayor and, other city staff work close with some of the groups combating homelessness here in the state. We certainly pull our weight here in Midvale as far as that issue goes, and I hope some of the other surrounding cities around us can step up as well and help out, because otherwise, it's just going to be cities like Midvale and Salt Lake City and South Salt Lake who step up each and every year for unsheltered people that are going to continue to get more and more unsheltered people in their city, because we like to be as welcoming as possible, but, if we had 3 or 4 of those types of cleanups every week or every month, our budget would shoot into areas that we simply cannot afford. So thank you, UPD, thank you, Public Works. If that happens again, I would recommend any council member or mayor just go take a look and see, what they're actually dealing with. Because when I passed this site for a couple of days leading up to Thanksgiving, and some residents reached out, and I certainly didn't want to, say anything for the folks and have them be, displaced on Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving. So I think we did let it go a little bit longer than normal, just to be, fair and equitable to the folks. But it just looked like a blue tarp when you passed it, and you would think like, oh, there might be a sleeping bag or something. But, there was just an entire operation there that kind of goes unnoticed by, you just walk by it and you see a blue tarp and that's it. But it certainly was eye-opening to see how, folks are forced to live, and, there's just no real good solution as far as I can tell right now. But I wanted to express my gratitude for that cleanup. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I'm just grateful for Quinn. I don't want to take up much time. I'll just sort of express that again. Giselle, I'll miss you. Good luck.
Okay. Councilmember Robinson.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Sperry.
Mayor, as much as I want to say I have nothing tonight, I don't think you'll let me get away with that. So, no, I mean, first of all, for the proclamation and the kind words, thank you very much. I mean, that was, too much, in my opinion, too kind. I mean, as I got our packets and I was looking through and I saw that I was getting a recognition, I just skipped over it. I didn't even read it. So the first time I actually heard or saw it was as you were reading it, and so very much appreciated. It's been a privilege to serve on this council. I would jokingly tell people, like, they're like, how did you end up on there? And I said, when it was, former council member Robert Hale, when he was stepping down and leaving the country, that I was the only sucker that, of the many people he talked to, I was the only sucker that actually took him up on coming to the meeting and said I'd be interested in doing it. But as I got to do it, it was great to learn so much more about the city. And I grew up here, and I think my parents, and especially my mom growing up, she'd always talk about, at that point, part of it was unincorporated Union, but it's still here in the Mid-Valley area, and she'd talk about the history and everything we should be proud of. And I would just sit there and be like, history's boring, Mom. Like, why are you talking to us about this? But, then getting on the council and seeing, just the things that I was taught as a child about the city, and then, being here and making some of those decisions, just being able to take pride in it. And so I thank her and my dad for, the service that they've given to the community and the examples that they set. And getting to know the staff and the other council members. When I was appointed, it was kind of I'm here, you guys take the vote, and then I thought, I'll come back to a future meeting, and they had me come up, and I was like, I'm like starting right now, okay. And I didn't know what I was doing, and so I appreciate, the ones that were more senior to sit by me and really walk me through it. Councilmember Glover, you're still here, but it was also with, Wayne Sharp, Paul Hunt, Stephen Brown, how they were able to, help me and to give me some guidance and knowing what I was doing. And I appreciate, the leadership and the example that they all set. And then, as Councilmember, the different Councilmember Brown came in, and Gettle, and then Heidi coming in, and with, the change in the mayors from Sagini to Hill, now Stevenson and the staff. It's just been great to learn from you, to laugh with you, maybe too much sometimes, and I appreciate your patience, and even though I probably did deserve to be called out sometimes, but you were very patient with me on some of that. But no, it's been great, getting to know so many of the staff. I do know Mariah's name, but for those that don't know, it's an inside joke that, apparently I called her by the wrong name or something, and so I just said, fine, I'm going to call you by a different name all the time. So, I just called her different names. I think it was, I think she even said she signed a card under a different name. So, I may call her a few different names tonight with an M, but no, it's been great getting to know everybody, and I'm fine. I look forward to coming to a future meeting, and if I get a little rowdy, I look forward to the ride in the back of Chief Thomas's police car. So that's maybe what I have to do. But as I've thought about just my time on the council and where we're at right now, when I got on, it was pretty rough. Some of the meetings were going late. Some of the residents were very upset on some of the things that were going on, and I remember thinking, like, why did I do this to myself, And there's still difficult issues that we have to deal with and that we discuss and that are very impactful on residents' lives. But I really enjoy where we're at in the dialogue and how we're able to do it in a respectful manner. And I think of, the current makeup of the council it's good. Dustin, you talked about how there's 3-2 votes, and I think that can be healthy because you see the different perspectives. And I think one of the things I really appreciate about, the current council and even with the city staff is that we can talk about the different perspectives that people have. We can consider those different angles and factors and then come to a decision on what we think is the best for the city as a whole. And we may disagree ultimately, sometimes, but then the decision's made and we can go forward. And I think that's good for our community and to set that example. We've been called a lot of things up here on the council. Probably don't want to repeat some of them, but corrupt, evil, things like that. I always love it. I just joke with it. But the one that I felt like, the only ones that really would cut to me personally are the ones where people get up and where they say, well, you just don't listen to me, you know, and they just think we're so dismissive of it. And that's not true. I mean, I want people to know that's not true. We listen. We hear you. We take that into consideration. I know that's something I've tried to do is listen to every one of the comments. Now, just because the ultimate decision may not be what you wanted doesn't mean we didn't listen. Doesn't mean we don't, you know, it weighs on us that we know we're making a decision that may be unpopular with certain members of the community because it is impactful, even the path, you know. It's not easy, and we know that it's not popular with some. Doesn't mean we don't listen and that we weigh those things. And so, you know, again, for me, that's the one that hurts is when somebody says, you just don't listen to me, because I feel I do. I feel we all do. And, you know, and that we consider those different things. And it's, you know, and I think that's one of the great things that we do have in the council and the staff is that people really care. They take those into consideration. And again, we have different opinions here, but I think every council member I've served with, you know, have their contact information and I can reach out to, and we, you know, whether that's, hey, let's talk about something with the city, let's talk about something with Utah football, or golf, or Pygmy Go, or whatever it is, right? Or with Heidi, we talk about different TV shows we want to be watching. I mean, it's just so many different things, and even, you know, Paul will call about, hey, I got a snowblower issue or something, you know, or we talk about different family things, and it transcends, the relationships transcend city council. And so we can talk about so many different things. And I'm going to miss, that's the biggest thing I'll miss is seeing everybody here on, you know, just staff or talking. I mean, now I feel like if I'm going to send a text or a call, they'll just be like, we're not answering that guy. But I look forward to still serving on the Canyons Education Foundation with the mayor's wife. So I'm glad she's going to be on there. So now I can still, you know, stay in touch there and tease him through his wife. So we'll figure out ways to still get you to roll your eyes, Mayor. But no, it's been really good. And so, you know, again, to the residents, thank you for allowing me to serve in this. It's been a privilege, for your patience. I recognize I didn't make every decision correct. You know, that's just an impossibility. But I want you to know that the decisions I made, I felt I was doing what I thought was in the best interest of the city, and you know, the city as a whole, based upon the information that I had. And you know, hindsight, some of the decisions were correct. Some of them, wish we could have a do-over, but we can't. And so we still just keep going forward and look forward to seeing what the council does in the future. And I think Bonnie, she'll take this seat and it'll be good. You know, I was also thinking the bookends. I get appointed and I'm immediately in, and then here I am, my last meeting, and I'm, you know, we're certifying the election for the person that's taking my spot. So that's great.
Okay. Thank you, Quinn. Matt Dahl, follow that up.
Yeah,
Just bring your daughter out. That's how you do it.
if you want to, she's watching Jurassic Park in the other room over there.
I have to go join her.
Well, and then, you know, the other part of this too is we did make this the longest meeting of the year so that we could have that much more time with you. All I got to say really quick is that the first thing is we'll, in a few moments here, go through and canvass with regards to the special bond election that we held for the recreation bond. And as we've talked about, there's sort of two components to that. I know there's been some discussion on the trails tonight. And with the meeting that we had last Saturday, we made that commitment that is whatever the next steps are in that planning process, because those trails are at this point more or less just lines on a map. But as we get to the point of where we're going to start looking at timelines or designs or any of that other kind of stuff, that we will reach out to the neighborhoods that are around those to make sure that there's more involvement around that if we move forward with those projects. The primary thing, the original reason that we started going down the road of doing the special bond election was for us to have a strategy to put together the best application for funding for a new modern rec center. And so really, it's been an interesting process because we had that from when we initially wanted to kind of start going down that road from January of last year or so until we passed a resolution in July, where we got to do survey work and do other things that weren't necessarily education, maybe it felt a little bit more like campaigning. Once that resolution was passed, we had to go into this phase where all we were able to do was education and not necessarily campaign on it. But now that and here in a few moments, once the election is certified, canvassed, we really are moving into a new campaign phase with regards to the rec center, where not only is there a role for us to make sure that we are involved in the master planning process that the county's doing for recreational opportunities, but to also make sure that as they move into the ZAP process, that they're aware of our needs and they know the quality of the application that we're putting together. But we also think that there's a role for working with the community and community groups in order to also have them impress upon the county how important this is. So that's what we'll be looking at over the next year. The approval of the bond is not the end, it's really just the beginning. And we'll have a lot of work ahead of us with the community, with community groups, with you, in order to get over the hurdle and get the funding that we need for that project. Second thing, just as a comment, Dustin, as you were talking about our role with those experiencing homelessness in our community and the state as a whole. This also came up during our walk on Saturday. There were some people who had some concerns about those experiencing homelessness and in the neighborhood around the 7200 South, or around 7200 South. And I just wanted to say, not only are the officers in many ways are the front line in providing resources to those in our community that are experiencing homelessness. We have special shelter officers that focus around the shelter and on the 7200 South corridor that are funded through a state program. Those officers are more specifically trained and sort of in tune with that community in a way that allows them to provide a lot of assistance to that group. In addition to that, because of both mitigation funding and for other reasons, we regularly meet with the Office of Homeless Services, that is Department of the State, and work with them in order to make sure that we maintain that funding that funds those SRO officers. And then throughout the year, we are also regularly involved with legislation, whether it's Code Blue or some of this other stuff where we're in touch with leaders on that. So, sorry, and one other thing I meant to mention this earlier is the Unified Fire Authority also spends a significant amount of resources providing particularly medical care to those experiencing homelessness at the shelter and along the corridor. So we are, and I know this isn't what you weren't saying we weren't, but I just, for the public, wanted to make sure that it's clear that while we don't have a specific office person budget that is for specifically helping those that are experiencing homelessness, we are engaged with a variety of groups that do, and we do spend a significant amount of time thinking about those issues and trying to make them better. This has been a trying year. We know that there's been a significant uptick statewide, nationwide, in those that are experiencing homelessness, both sheltered and unsheltered. And I know that the community has been feeling that. I know those groups, the officers, the fire department, are feeling that as we're having to interact even more with those groups on a more regular basis. But it is something that is important and that we spend a significant amount of time on. And so I appreciate your help with what you were doing this weekend and your comments on that. And it is something that is of importance to us. So with that, on that note, that is all I have for this evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, now that we're an hour in and just hitting our first real item, we've got a public hearing.
You didn't think the Quinn stuff was a real item?
Well, of course it is.
We're going to the public hearing. You can tell me how much you love me.
Okay. All right. Midville, sorry, this is going to be a bad night already.
Just put on that pecan.
Yeah.
really don't. It
Okay,
makes me feel awkward.
public hearing, item A, Midvale City initiated request to amend section 17.784A9C, the transit-oriented development, TOD zone relating to townhome development in the Midvale City Municipal Code. And we're gonna hear from Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so this item is a proposed text amendment in our transit-oriented development TOD zone regarding townhome development. As I'm sure most of you are familiar, Midvale City Code outlines criteria that you need to find in order to make text amendment changes. One of these three findings, staff in our analysis found that this met criteria number 1 and will help to provide for a community need on an ongoing basis. So the proposed change happens, you'll see that we took out language regarding specifically townhome developments that are over 50 units. There was some cumbersome language that staff found difficult to interpret consistently or across the board, and we couldn't find any reason for what that was maybe trying to mitigate or accomplish. So we've proposed removing that. And in the second to last sentence, you'll notice that we also took out that townhome developments that are larger than 8 units provide 2 different model types. We've taken that out so that any townhome development shall provide at least 2 different model types. Planning Commission was very supportive of that and have recommended approval. If you have any changes or, questions for me, I can take those now or leave you with the motion.
Was there anything in particular that made this something that staff wanted to do?
Yeah, we've had some developers reach out about doing different projects in the TOD. Townhomes, they haven't been submitted, nothing really formal has gone through. We kind of had this issue that we were running into, so we just found it would make a development more efficient.
So the language we have now is making it more difficult for developers to develop a townhome community?
Yes.
Okay.
In a way that seemed to make sense and flow and was what the city was looking for in regards to development like that. Oh, Adam, go ahead.
So what we did when we were looking at this is we tried to find a development that fit what the current language was, and we could not find one. So we're thinking it was maybe done in error when it was originally adopted, but again, we did go through the existing developments in that zone, and not one could we find that even met what that was trying to say. And amongst ourselves, we couldn't figure out what it was
We even
trying
tried to interpret it, and each planner came up with a very different proposal of how that we could have possibly interpreted it. So for ease, we wanted to simplify.
How hard is it to deal with the 3 characteristics thing? Is that hard to interpret, right? It says they need to have at least 3 characteristics that clearly distinguish each other from the other models. I mean, that's pretty subjective, right? I guess I grew up back east where townhomes, a lot of times all, a little more classic look where they didn't necessarily have to, be distinguished, right? Especially a lot older versions.
Sure.
So that just seems like that could be challenging, right? Is that needed, do you think? Do we want that? Does it need to be 4? It just seemed like a kind of an arbitrary thing that, how would you define that, right? How would the developer,
Yeah, we're open to feedback. I don't think any of us are super tied to that. So.
If it's not, if you find out, no, it's easy and everyone kind of knows what that means, that's fine too. But if you're trying to make it easier, I figured, easier is not the right word. Make it so it makes sense and whatnot, then it seems like an interesting thing to leave in.
Any other questions?
I kind of agree with what Councilmember Brown just said. It seems very, very subjective, and I don't even know that it's necessary to have that last sentence. But I guess without the last sentence, there's really nothing to the whole paragraph anymore. So, I don't know.
Did you have any examples in mind as you came up with that language?
The three
three
characteristics.
Yeah.
That's already existing. That's what we currently have. We didn't touch it. We're happy to look at maybe making some changes to that. Absolutely.
but if we had a townhouse community in one of these areas, you guys would be, behind the scenes, the stuff that we don't see.
Sure.
Would be saying, show us 3 characteristics that clearly
Yeah.
distinguish these townhomes, and then we, the council, never really see any
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like you said, it is very subjective and open to interpretation, so we could always tie that down a little more if you'd like to, or.
This is sort of tangentially related, but, I had a developer mention, many city staffers ago, so no one here, when he did it, he interpreted this, we got a new city staffer, he did it, he interpreted this, the reason why this sign is like this is because this one did it, but when we got a new one, we had to change the sign, and does that help development, does that hurt development, do we want that, I don't know, right, so I don't know if we need to make those changes now, I just was like, what does that mean? Like, this unit has shutters and this one doesn't, and we call it, that's one, right? Like, that makes it harder for you, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I like the change. I mean, I'm reading that language that you're cutting out.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, I
Good
mean, I
luck.
don't know why we did that here. And the 3 characteristics, I'm fine with it. I mean, I think here in our society, we want some variety, right? The developers know that, and so
Yeah.
I imagine they're gonna have more than 3. I mean, it's gonna be, whether it's, stucco or wood or stone or, the different colors, 2-car garage versus a 1-car garage. I mean, they'll have a variety there for their models. It just seems to be, they know that's what people want is, they don't want that cookie cutter house. So I'm good with it.
Thanks for the feedback.
I'm going to ask a question that I hope this doesn't get overly complicated. I think because when I read that, I feel like it's referring to visual characteristics. Could somebody come and say, well, the internal piping I use for this house is different than this one, and so it is a different characteristic, and does that, sorry Garrett, you told me not to put you on the spot, does that put us into a weird spot of, again, when we're disagreeing with the developer and they're saying, well, your code says a different characteristic, and that's a different characteristic. I mean, but to me, it's a visual characteristic is really what we're going for.
So ambiguity does cut in favor of the developer. If it's not clear, if it's not clearly understood under state law, that goes to the benefit of the developer. So if a developer wanted to come in and go that route, it sounds like based on everyone's feedback that Councilman Brown might be satisfied in the fact of why do we even have 3 characteristics if they're saying we're using 3 different types of piping. Then Councilman Brown gets his outcome of this is a non-issue. But on the flip side, if someone is saying shutters versus different height versus different window arrangement or whatever it may be, then Councilman Sperry's gets his desired outcome of the variation.
Fair enough.
Yep, I think it's fine. I was more like saying, is this another burden for you guys that will just be,
Sure.
we'll come back and be like, why do we have this? This is hard to implement.
Yeah, we might be back.
But without it, then if you do away with it completely, you won't get much variation. You might, but you might not. You might just get all exactly the same thing. At least this way.
To me, they all look like they are the same now. So, I don't know if I noticed a difference, but yeah. I get it. I was just more thought.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Unless there's no other questions at this time, I ask for a motion to open up the public comment for the public hearing.
Mayor, I motion that we open up the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Yes. Any opposed? Okay, we'll move into the public comment portion. Do we have any public comments on this item?
Mayor, I move that we close public comment.
We have a motion to close public comment
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, public comment is closed. We'll move into the action portion of this item. Consider ordinance number 2023-016, amending title 17-7A4A9C
of the transit-oriented development TOD zone relating to townhome development in the Midvale City Municipal Code.
Mayor, I move that we approve the amendment to section 17-7-8.4A9C of the TOD zone as provided in the attachments with the finding noted in the summary report. Finding 1, the amendment complies with Midvale City Code 17-3-1E1.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, will you call roll?
Yes, Councilmember Sperry.
Aye.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
And Gettle.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Moving into our consent agenda, we've got the 3 items. Item A is consider minutes of November 4th, 2023. Item B is consider resolution number 2023 R43 establishing a time and place for holding regular city council meetings, designate the mayor pro tempore, and adopt the holiday schedule for the 2024 calendar year. And item C is consider resolution number 2023 R44 authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Group Benefits Services for insurance broker services. Just a reminder on that last one, Rory did present, and we said that she could throw it on the consent.
Thank you.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Rory, we call roll.
Councilmember Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Gettle.
Yes.
And Sperry.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Moving into our first action item of the night, consider resolution number 2023 R45, canvass the results of the November 21st, 2023 general municipal election.
Okay, here we are. I left a copy of the election resolution and backup documents on the dais for you. So the results are District 1, we had Bonnie Billings with 641 votes, Dustin Snow, 284, and Ben Umidi at 132, which leaves Bonnie Billings as the elected. Paul Glover, he was really close. You know, that was 658, and that was all you got. Nobody else got any. Council District 3. Heidi Robinson was 445, Evan Feinberg 378, and Bart Benson 248, making Heidi Robinson, yay, Council District 3 council member for the next 4-year term. So we've got Bonnie Billings, Paul Glover, and Heidi Robinson for our council for the next 4 years. In that election report, you will see that on the page, that is a colorful page, the canvas statistics. If you are questioning at all how many provisional ballots we had 6, and 6 were counted. We had only a 27.3% turnout. It's a little bit low. Usually with the mail-in ballots, we're up around 35%. So a little disappointed in that. Only 431 ballots were counted, and we had 14,746 active voters. So that, I think, was a little bit low. It does look like we had a few election envelopes that, I have no idea how they do this, but they kept election ballots from previous years and put them in the envelopes.
So did I get some votes?
Quinn, you
might
won.
have. You might
That'd be
have.
awesome.
They may have been voting for mayor. I'm not sure. So that was interesting. We did have, let's see, we had total ballots. We had, 46 total of the rejected ballots that were not curable. That was mean they couldn't fix them. Either they had signatures didn't match, they didn't have them signed, or something like that. Are there any questions on this one?
Questions, comments from council?
I just wanted to make the comment, I know 27% sounds low, and it is low, and everyone should vote more. But that said, districts 4 and 5 only had a question on the ballot that could have driven some turnout down a bit. You know, sometimes when people open a ballot and they see a long, complicated question, it might go directly into their trash can. I wish that wasn't the case, but typically when we see 35%, it's with like a mayoral candidate
That
on
is
the
true.
ballot. So probably
Yes.
would have been a little bit higher.
And you know, we had Councilmember Glover running a really hot election,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So I wanted to mention too, Councilmember-elect Bonnie Billings was not able to be here tonight. Her niece had a Christmas pageant of some sort.
Oh,
But
nice.
she wanted me to let everyone know she's excited about the opportunity to collaborate with the council and together make decisions that will benefit our community.
Great, thank you. I will be sending around the certificate of election, if you would please sign this. I will also have one for the next item, just so you know, I've got the little stickies there, so you know which one to sign.
Okay. Unless there's no other comments or questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve resolution number 2023-R45, accepting and approving the results of the municipal general election held November 21st, 2023, as shown on the canvas report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, from your other spot, will you call roll,
Yes,
please?
Councilmember Glover,
Aye.
Gettle,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Robinson, and Sperry.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Matt, do you want to take this one? Next one? Are you sure? No, you're, okay.
Okay, well, we'll move on to item B, is just to fight about who's gonna get to
Arm
present
wrestle.
it.
Arm wrestle.
Yeah.
No, are you sure?
Okay, the item is canvass the results of the November 21st, 2023 bond election.
Correct. Now, we have the numbers for the bond election are in the packet as well. However, I did not put it on this one, for heaven's sakes. The issuance of the bonds, was 2,345 at 61% in favor. And against the issuance of the bonds for a no was 1,499, which was 39%. A total of the cast votes was 4,031 for everything. For the bond itself was 3,844. So that means that there are some that maybe didn't vote for the bond. Any questions on that? The statistics are the same as the election.
Okay. There's no further questions or comments. I'd entertain a motion.
It's interesting that I would have thought there would have been more votes either way for the bond, total number than, candidates, right? Because two districts didn't have elections, but you're saying the opposite, that there was more votes cast than people that casted for the, that doesn't make, that's a weird statistic.
Kind of crazy, huh?
Well, because there were no candidates in 4 and 5.
Right, so those numbers should just be for the bond.
Oh, yeah, the bond.
So everyone in 4 and 5 that
They'd be
voted.
higher. You'd think they would be higher than
Yeah.
the election or the others, yeah.
Okay. People just not vote.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, they could have voted for the candidates, but not the bond.
Yeah.
One other thing I just wanted to mention is you'll notice that there's sort of two different methods that we're doing this tonight. One being the resolution that you just voted on for the candidates. That has sort of been handled in the traditional way that we've handled these elections. We've been working with Gilmore Bell as our outside counsel for dealing with the bond, and they have throughout this whole process, you guys have voted on many different things, and they've had different documentation that they wanted us to use in order to sort of belt and suspenders our way to make sure that everything was where we needed it to be. So rather than our sort of typical resolution, they are only looking for a motion to approve the canvass and declare the proposition carried.
Successful.
Thank you. And so it is a little bit different, but it just has to do with sort of what have we normally done, and in this case, bond counsel wanting this to be a separate item that is canvassed separately and done in this way.
Correct. Thanks, Matt. Any other questions?
Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we, the Board of Canvassers, approve the results of the special bond election held November 21st, 2023, as shown in the canvass report, and declare the proposition to have carried.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, will you call roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Sperry.
Aye.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
And Gettle.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to item C, consider resolution number 2023 R46 requesting the recertification of the Midvale Justice Court. Mariah.
As you will recall from the last meeting, we have to recertify the court every 4 years. This includes the court working, Cindy worked with the judge to fill out and make sure we're fulfilling all of the requirements that for a class 1 court that the state sets out. So there's an affidavit from the judge saying that we meet all of those requirements, a letter from our city attorney attesting the viability of our court, and then we need a resolution from you all requesting recertification. All of those things were included in the packet, and so we just need you to pass the resolution.
Questions, comments for Mariah? Quinn, this is your opportunity
No.
to.
I was distracted by, Monica, could you repeat all that?
If you want.
No, I'm good.
That's what I was.
I was signing the documents.
All right, if there's no questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 2023-R-46, requesting the recertification of the Midvale Justice Court.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, will you call roll?
Yes. Councilmember Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Gettle.
Yes.
And Sperry.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Okay, Monica, don't go anywhere. Item D, discuss and consider resolution number 2023 R47 acknowledging completion and receipt of fiscal year 2023 annual audit.
All right, finance is cyclical, so here we come with the audit. Don't worry, Matt's already been talking to me about the budget. I told him to just be quiet for a minute on that one. This is our first audit with our new auditors, Keddington and Christensen, that you all chose earlier this week. Specifically, we've worked with Marcus Arbuckle and his team. He's here to present to you in a little bit. They've been excellent to work with, and I also just need to thank my finance team, especially Christian Larson, who did the bulk of the tedious number crunching and all of the building of the financial statements. And then thanks to everyone in council and staff who cooperated with the auditors so that we could get this here tonight and not have to have another meeting in December. So I'm just going to go through, this is a 140-page, pretty dense financial document. I'm going to run through what's in the annual comprehensive financial report, and then I'll talk a little bit about kind of where it took our finances, where we ended, talking about the fund balance in each of our funds. So in the ACFR, we have an introductory section, basic financial statements, required supplementary information, a statistical section, and then internal controls and compliance reports. In the introductory section, you have a transmittal letter that signed by me that includes audit requirements, an introduction of our auditors, a profile of Midvale, factors that affect our financial condition, and some long-term financial planning. We have a certificate of achievement for our previous fiscal year ACFR that we get from the Government Finance Officers Association for doing a great job, an organizational chart, and pictures of all of you and your names. In the financial section, we have the independent auditor's report, and then what we call the MD&A, the Management's Discussion and Analysis. This is very specific information that the GFOA requires we include. It is supposed to be objective, easily readable analysis of government's financial activities, but really none of this is easily readable unless you're a finance professional. It also has summaries, significant events and changes, and financial highlights. The basic financial statements, we have government-wide financial statements, and then financial statements for the governmental funds, which include the general fund, debt service, capital projects, and the RDA, and then our proprietary funds, which are our enterprise funds, water, sewer, stormwater, those things. The notes to the financial statements are the not easily readable explanation of the financial statements. They talk through our significant accounting policies, the reconciliation of our government statements to our fund statements that includes information on our deposits and investments, capital asset information, debt, and our pension plan. In the required supplementary information, this is pension disclosures. It includes information on our net pension liability and our pension contributions. The supplementary information has the financial statements for the non-major proprietary funds. So in the proprietary fund statements, we group together street lighting, sanitation, and telecommunications, and then the internal service funds. These break down the information individually for each of those funds. And then in the statistical section, we have 10 years of data on different operational, economic, and historical data. This includes financial trends, revenue capacity, debt capacity, demographic and economic information, and operating information. And then in our internal control and compliance reports, these come from the auditor. We have one on governmental auditing standards, one on state compliance audit guide, and then a schedule of findings and question costs. So this year we do have a finding from our auditors, and I just wanted to talk through that with you guys really quickly. So it's a finding on a material weakness in our financial close in reporting. So we had 3 material prior period adjustments. Material just means that it was significant enough in relation to our finances. And then the prior period adjustments means it was fixes to last year's statements. So we had to fix what we reported last year so that this year's statements could be correct. So the 3 of these were, the first one was a recording of our ARPA funding. And this is going to get pretty technical in the world of accounting to explain this, but I'm going to do my best to do it in layman terms. So we originally reported our ARPA funding as just straight up revenue because of the way we reported it with the federal government. But we have learned this year that we needed to have that as unearned revenue. When you account for revenue, you have to have corresponding expenses, and because we haven't spent our ARPA funding yet, it needs to be recorded as unearned, not earned revenue. So we've fixed that, and it's correct this year for the ARPA funding we collected as well. And then in recording of one of our state infrastructure bank loans, we recorded it as revenue and expense originally, like we would kind of in budgeting. But because the way that the loan is set up, that we are receiving payment from a developer and then passing that through, we needed to show it as a revenue and then a receivable for amount owed versus rather than a revenue and an expense. Again, that's been corrected and will be correct moving forward. And then the final one is that the way that we had been recording in our internal service funds, the income that comes in, our internal service funds are funded from different funds. It's the way they pay for their cars and their computers, and that income comes in. We had been allocating all of that income into the governmental funds, but because some of it is paid by governmental and some of it is paid by business type, we needed to allocate that between the 2 appropriately to the amount that was paid in. So again, fixed for last year, correct this year, and will be correct moving forward. So these were errors that happened last year. We're not going to say we didn't make them, we did, but they're fixed. We've learned, we're moving forward, and we'll be much careful carefully when it comes to kind of these one-off weird things that aren't on our day-to-day operations in our accounting. So just wanted to run through that with you guys, and then I'm sure Marcus will talk about it a little bit as well. Okay, so for the financial results, I'll go through this pretty quickly. Like I said, the accounting behind this is a culmination, I think, that lands us really with the year closed up and knowing where we stand in each fund. And so in the general fund, our revenues exceeded our expenditures by $467,000. So we have that increase, in our fund balance in the general fund. You'll see that we're at 32% of our revenues. We're doing really well on our goal of increase our general fund balance 3% each year. And even with what we have budgeted for use in this fiscal year, we're right on track. Our goal would be to be at 30% at the end of this year, and we're right there. In the RDA, this is the combination of all of the RDA funds, so operating Bingham Junction, Jordan Bluffs, Main Street, and citywide housing. Their fund balance increased $3.3 million overall. In capital projects, we increased $2.1 million. A lot of this is a delay of projects that were planned for fiscal year 23, and we'll move those projects into fiscal year 24. Now that this is wrapped up, we will do a budget amendment to kind of push some of those things forward. In the water fund, if you'll recall the way that we look at things in the enterprise funds, it's a little bit different than just looking at fund balance, because we also are looking at this in the number of days of working capital that we have on hand. So in the water fund, we did have an increase in days of working capital. The fund balance increased by 362,000. This does not include ARPA funds in this fund balance. In the sewer fund, and in a few of these funds, we had an interesting thing where our fund balance increased, but our days of working capital decreased, and that's because the cost of operating has increased. So we did have an 11-day decrease in the sewer fund, a 12-day decrease in the stormwater fund, a similar situation, though we are still above our goal in the stormwater fund. In street lighting, we had an increase of working capital, and similarly in the sanitation fund. And then in the internal service funds, we don't look at days of working capital. These are a bit different. We had a decrease in the fleet fund. This is because the cost of vehicles increased, and so we had to use some of that fund balance to purchase vehicles that were a little more expensive than we had originally budgeted for, and then had an increase in the information technology fund balance. Any questions?
I have one quick question. So this is our first year using this particular group, right? Because we had that finding, not a finding, but the AG office said that we should think about every few years using a different.
Yeah, so we went through the RFP process because it was time, and then yes.
Do you find, because I remember thinking that was pretty important to do at the time, did you find that that was helpful, using a different auditing group this time?
Yeah, I think that always fresh eyes are good, right? And so Christian and I have been here between 2 and 3 years now, right? So we're more comfortable with it. It was probably, I can't imagine having done this my first year when I just started and having new auditors and having them ask me questions. I wouldn't know. But I think him and Christian and I were both comfortable with our finances and able to answer their questions and get them the things that they needed. And I think that the fresh eyes were very helpful, obviously, in finding places we could improve, and we're grateful for that. And yes, I think it was good. Okay. Yes.
Mariah, thank you for all your work. We appreciate that with Christian.
Yep.
And meeting with the audit committee, we went over each of these individually and talked about them in great length. And I'm comfortable that they have been resolved and that you guys know what, it's a matter of bookkeeping as to where you put these things. And it's hard to know all of the rules and regulations.
I was tempted to bring the giant blue book that is the generally acceptable accounting principles to say, we can't know them all. We can try.
But we do feel good that everything's been resolved and they're doing what they're supposed to do. And appreciate the auditors for being able to come in and really tell us what needs to be done.
I agree. They've been wonderful.
So, thank you.
Any other questions?
Well done, Matilda.
Okay,
I'll just say, it's kind of a strange thing, right? I mean, you don't want any findings, but I also do appreciate it when there is some findings, especially when it's something we can correct easily.
Yeah.
Because when they come back, like, it's a clean one, and you're like, how well did you really look? I mean, we want to have confidence that you're looking at stuff. So when they're finding things like that, and it's like, okay, they're doing their job, they found it, we can do better. Nobody's stealing money.
I think that's what I portrayed to Christian a lot when we were talking about these big prior period adjustments. I mean, ARPA funds are $2 million. It's material. But it was like, all this really shows to me is that we're getting better. And I guess they can be mad at us, but hopefully they
But when it's ARPA funds too, it's like, this is kind of a new thing for a lot of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still trying to figure out.
There was some weird timing for when information came out about how to report that. Yeah.
No one left in handcuffs, so that's a
I
successful.
hope I never see that in any organization I have a say in, yes. I'm going to turn a few minutes over to Marcus for him to report the audit, and then you can adopt the resolution.
As he's walking up here, Christian, will you just raise your hand? Just because you don't interact with the council quite as much, but again, it was Christian put a ton of work into this, as did Mariah, so thank you both.
There we go.
And Marcus, if you just state your name for the record.
All right, well, I'm Marcus Arbuckle with Kennington and Christensen, and I'd like to thank the mayor and council for the opportunity to audit Midvale City. As part of an audit, we're required to report several items to governance on basically how the audit went, but we consider the council to be governance, and part of your responsibility is to oversee the financial reporting process, where management is responsible for the financial statements, and an audit does not relieve governance or management of those responsibilities. And so as auditors, we plan and perform an audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. And the audit is designed to gain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. On page 10, that's where our opinion is. It's a clean opinion. It's called an unmodified opinion. Where I did a great job going through the different sections of the financial statements, but that opinion, it's on the basic financial statements that includes the footnotes. We provide assurance on the required supplemental schedules and the regular supplemental schedules. But what we do is we just make sure that they tie out to the basic financial statements. The introduction section and the statistical section are really unaudited. Another kind of important part of the audit is how we analyze the internal controls. We provide a report on the internal controls. For this type of audit, you don't issue an opinion on the internal controls, but we do review the internal controls that are directly related to the financial reporting process. And so we look at how the controls are designed for the cash receipting process, the cash disbursement process, the payroll process, and then the financial close and reporting process. And so we're going in doing walkthroughs on all these different types of transactions to make sure that there's separation of duties, that there's internal controls, that there's different people that are handling the cash versus reconciling the accounts, just to make sure that the controls are adequate. We feel the city does a great job with those controls. We do, like Mariah brought up, we had finding related to the kind of non-routine transactions. Just like she talked about, there are 3 accounting transactions that happened in prior years that we just noticed that weren't quite accounted for correctly. And so we brought that up to finance. They did their own research. That was a good part about it. They researched it on their own, came up with a journal entry, a way to correct it, and then have a process in place to do that entry correctly going forward. So they've done a great job implementing a few changes. There's another report that we issue, and it's the report on state compliance. So every year, the state auditor's office has a list of compliance areas that us as auditors are asked to go check specific areas. And they change occasionally, but this year we looked into budgetary compliance, fund balance compliance, justice court, restricted taxes and revenue, the fraud risk assessment, and we looked into government fees, cash management, and then the public treasurer's bond. And I'm happy to report there were actually no findings related to those areas in the state compliance. I mean, they're doing a great job keeping up with all these areas. I mean, normally there's at least 1 or 2 state compliance findings at every audit that I present at. So they've done a great job with that, and that's impressive that there were no issues related to those areas. Let's see. During the audit, we didn't have any, real difficulties performing the audit. We didn't have any, disagreements with management. We feel that the accounting policies and procedures are designed well. We feel the city has a reliable accounting system. We take fraud procedures very seriously. So what we do is we'll interview questions to council members, to management, to employees, just going down, asking about fraud or waste or abuse or just compliance questions, trying to see if there's anything we need to dive into a little bit more. We do journal entry scans. We have meetings as auditors, and happy to report we didn't find any instance of fraud or anything like that. But any questions, I guess I'd ask if there's any questions related to that finding or to anything about the audit.
Seeing none.
Okay, but yeah, I'd just like to thank Mariah and Christian. I mean, they do a great job. They're very well prepared. They know what's going on. They were able to get us information quickly, which helps the audit go more smoothly. I mean, the first year audit it's tough. You know, we're getting familiar with how the city works. I mean, we do a lot of government audits, so we're familiar with government accounting, but every city does things a little bit different. And, you know, the finance department, they've got to get used to new auditors. I mean, Christian wrote that CAFR. The majority of cities don't write their own financial statements. Normally, the auditors write the report for them, and then they have to review it. He did a great job, especially on the first time, writing that whole 140-page document. So we just thank them for their work. They do great work. And, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate the work of all of you writing that 140-page document. It's one of those times when I hear of another job that I'm like, I'm so thankful somebody else does it, and it's not me. So, thank you.
And Marcus, like I said, I mean, great coming in. It is kind of, in my opinion, kind of weird having some findings, but it's like, great, you're doing your job, right? That's what we want. And you have an M name. I call you by a different M, but that's reserved for Melba over there, so it's okay.
All right. Do you have an action item on this? So if there's no more questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution 2023-R47, acknowledging completion of the fiscal year 2023 audit, and direct that notice be published pursuant to Section 10-6-152 of the Utah Code.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, will you call roll?
Yes, Councilmember Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
Gettle.
Yes.
Berry.
Aye.
And Glover.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. All right, move into item E, consider resolution number 2023-R48, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Hanson, Allen, and Luce for the Stormwater Master Plan.
See, I did you a favor.
We're only like halfway through these action items, so making good time. Many numbers go to letter I.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. As you're aware, city staff solicited requests for proposals from qualified engineering firms for the development of Midvale City's first stormwater master plan. The objective of the plan is to enhance the aging stormwater infrastructure, address flooding issues during moderate rainfall, minimize pollution discharge, and comply with regulatory mandates while accommodating future development. A quick timeline for this process. The RFP was completed and placed on the state procurement site August 28th. The pre-bid mandatory meeting was held on September 7th. The deadline for written requests and comments was September 12th. Proposals were due on the 18th. The committee had to review the proposals and met to review it on October 5th, and the award of the selected proposal was done on October 9th. Going over the process, in coordination with the procurement officer, a selection committee was created to review and rate the proposals based on the following criteria: the firm's project experience, the firm's team's project experience in master plans, project understanding of and approach, and pricing. The selection committee was the procurement officer, the public works director, the public works deputy director, city engineer, and the public works streets and stormwater manager. For the proposals, the city received two proposals. One was from Bowen Collins and Associates. The other was from Hanson, Allen, and Luce. As stated, the selection committee conducted independent proposal reviews before the meeting. The compiled results before the cost portion was added Hanson Allen Luce was in first place with their rating. And then after the price was inserted into the formula, Hanson Allen Luce again was leading and ranked first in both sections. The committee felt their understanding and detailed approach to meeting the scope of work requirements was significantly better for Hanson and Allen at Luce. Questions or comments?
What was the cost?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
The cost is just over $97,000.
What was it for the other company?
I don't recall the exact, but it was about 5 or 6% difference, I believe.
Lower or higher?
Lower.
We've worked with Hanson before, haven't we?
Yes.
Seems to me that we've approved them several times.
They're,
Glenn, will you make sure if you're gonna keep that, you got a mic?
Yeah, we've worked with both firms and currently are working with both firms. Hal is our kind of water consultant currently. Now there'll be stormwater as well. And Bowen and Collins is working on our sewer master plan.
My question would be, why not then use the company that has the 5% less cost if they're already doing one of our master plans, and we've worked with them in the past and have no complaints about the work that they do?
the committee felt that the most recent work that Hanson Allen has done, which is 3 of our neighboring or bordering cities' recent master plan updates or master plans, and also a canal and stream study done for the county. They have extensive knowledge with adjoining canals and streams and infrastructure that would be beneficial for the project.
Okay, and you think the other firm would not have that same expertise?
Well, it's complicated. We set up the rating structure to make sure that we get the highest quality plan versus, and what we have that we're looking for versus just a cost itself.
Just to clarify, Hal completed Sandy's, Murray's, and West Jordan, I believe, recent stormwater master plans, and our infrastructure touches their infrastructure. In fact, they commingle. And then, as Jeremy mentioned, they are working with the county on a creek and canal study, and the first portion of that study was completed in Midvale. Both of those things tie into our current system. So that working knowledge and just the overall proposal and scope was much better from Hal.
Okay.
As determined by the committee.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Seeing none.
Okay, so due to only having one meeting last month and one meeting this month, we request suspending the rules and to take action to approve this resolution.
We apologize for not wearing a tie like Keith.
Yes.
And treats. You forgot the treats.
You can put that on if you need it.
Being your last meeting, I'm tempted to be like, sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah.
But it is.
I move Jeremy puts on a tie.
Second.
Suspend the rule. Now, where did I put that? Oh. It was not seconded, but you are welcome. Oh, Dustin seconded.
Do you really want me to put that in the?
Mayor's like, Why? No, you don't know.
We don't need to publicly shame you that bad. Jeez.
You can put it
He
on
seemed like he would have done it,
Halloween and
though.
say you're
I
Keaton.
know. He would have quit tomorrow, but he would have done it to get his.
I'm just kidding. Are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready.
A real one this time?
Yeah.
I move that we suspend the rules and adopt resolution number R 2023-48, approving the mayor to sign and enter into an agreement with Hanson, Allen, and Luce, Inc. to provide a stormwater master plan for Midvale City.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, will you call roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Gettle.
Yes.
Sperry.
Yes, on both of those motions.
Glover.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
That passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to item F, consider resolution number 2023 R49, approving CDBG grant funding contract with Salt Lake County. Maggie.
All right, hello everyone. Councilmember Sperry, it was nice to meet you, and it was nice working with you. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
Okay, so I actually have 4 agenda items tonight, 2 for City Council and 2 for the RDA Board, but they're all connected. So I wanted to just quickly go over them really quickly so we could better understand all 4 of them. The first is CDBG Community Development Block Grant Agreement with Salt Lake County. We are awarded $100,000 to support the home repair loan program. Because of that, that was applied for through the city. So we then, item number 2 is going to be a pass-through agreement, which will pass that funding from the city to the RDA to support that program, as well as the CDBG requirements, passing those responsibilities on to the redevelopment agency as well. And then thirdly, there's an amendment to the NeighborWorks agreement that you all passed, I think it was in September. We also have to update that because they're administering both the down payment assistance program and the home repair loan program. We need to amend that so they're also complying with this CDBG agreement that we're entering into with the county. And I'd like to quickly note before I move on that the down payment assistance program and the home repair loan program are live. You can find information about those on our website. We're ramping up to officially launching those within the next few weeks. With that, we're going to have brochures and all kinds of other information for you all to share with your constituents. And also, we're going to have a workshop on January 20th for the home repair loan program, down payment assistance program, so that people can come and learn all about it and see if they qualify. So the first motion is for the agreement between Midvale City and Salt Lake County for those CDBG funds to support the home repair loan program. Again, it's a $100,000 grant that we were awarded, and this is simply an agreement for those funds.
Are you going to, at any point, since you have quite a number of items for us tonight, are you going to at any point go over some of those requirements just for those who might be joining us for the first time and hearing about this program?
Requirements within...
As far as like who qualifies and how one would start that process?
Sure, both the down payment assistance, it's all, the details are on our website, but in general, the down payment assistance program and the home repair loan program are for Midvale City let me back up. The home repair loan program is for Midvale City residents who own a home, who are 80% AMI and below, within the county's AMI levels. Down payment assistance program is also for 80% AMI below, and that is open to anyone who wants to purchase a home in Midvale. And it's a $25,000 down payment assistance. If there is someone who works for a public entity within Midvale or is a Midvale City resident, they can qualify for an additional $5,000 for down payment assistance. And we are working with NeighborWorks Salt Lake, who is administering both of those programs. So they're the ones, if anyone's interested, to reach out to, or they can reach out to me as well to learn more about qualifying.
I just wanted to, we know that, we've heard this a
Yeah,
lot, but I
yeah.
want to make sure that people know that this is not for developers. It's not for LLCs that are buying up properties. It's for people who live in Midvale or want to
Yes.
live in Midvale who are at 80% AMI and need the financial support. So a lot of
Exactly.
times we take some criticism that we help, developers who may or may not need financial assistance without helping our residents who do, and these two programs help people who need that help. I wanna
Yes,
make
thank
that
you
clear.
for that. And we hope the workshops assist in explaining those details a little further with everyone too.
So, I mean, the information's on our website, and I know you're gonna do the workshop in January, but, I mean, have you had people already expressing interest? Anything, I mean, what's, like, numbers-wise, is it just a few, or we've been having, the word's getting out? What's been so far?
It's been a slow ramp up. For the home repair loan program, we've mainly been waiting for this agreement to be finalized so that we can tap into these funds to support it and make sure that every loan that we're providing to residents is in compliance with CDBG. We've actually had quite a few realtors come into the office wanting to know more so that they can share the information with home buyers. That's majority of the calls right now, but like I mentioned, I'm working very closely with Laura to really launch this. I think we're getting it out in the mailers with the utility bills, we're working very closely with NeighborWorks Salt Lake to make sure it gets out on social media, email lists. Again, we're gonna have brochures here at Midvale City Hall, and I can hand them out to you all too. We'd love for you to share this information as broadly as possible. We really wanna focus on Midvale residents first. We really wanna make sure that our folks are getting this information first and foremost.
Can I just add, not only just Midvale residents, we also have an emphasis on public employees. Just as a
Yes.
reminder, for the down payment assistance, we did a greater amount if you worked for a public entity within Midvale. So I know Laura and I just had a conversation that here real shortly, we'll be sending out that information to Midvale City employees, Canyon School District, Unified Police, and Unified Fire, to make sure that they have that. I will say that for this first year, the pool of funds is still limited. And we don't want to be, I don't know that we all want to be overran either, and having to turn people away because of the demand. So we'll see how that goes for this first year, but I'm really excited that this is finally happening.
Yes, and it is a first come, first served basis, all this funding. There is a possibility to, if we run out of funds, if there is any CDBG grant money left, we can apply for that additional funding. That's not 100% guaranteed, but that is an option that's out there if we come to that point.
One other question I have, I think the home repair loan program is going to be pretty successful because a lot of folks, my concern is with the down payment. Again, I said this months ago, that if you are at that 80% AMI, I find it difficult to believe that many of those folks are going to be able to afford the mortgage on a $600,000 or $650,000 home. So I have some reservations about that program. I just don't know how people are going to, at the same time qualify for the down payment assistance and also achieve the loan that they're going to need for the home. So we'll see. The home repair loan program, there are a lot of people who are sitting in homes that, are worth a lot more than they bought them for, but can't really afford to go to that next $1 million home, which would be the next step up for a lot of people. So hopefully at least the home repair loan program helps as many people as possible, and maybe just as you can report back to us how both programs are doing. I think that would be helpful for us as council members.
Completely. I mean, this first year really is a pilot year for both programs, so we can take a look at them and see how they're doing and if we need to make adjustments.
Even though I'm just preaching to the choir here, I have to say it because I'm proud of us on this. Today I was, Councilman Gendel, your comment just prompted this. I was in a meeting today with some state representatives about some things they're looking at on creating better first-time home buyer. And one of the things that was brought up is they have this first-time home buyer
down payment assistance, but it has to be in a new build. Ours does not have to have that restriction. That's one of the challenges we're seeing, that some of these new builds, they are $700,000, $800,000. And how does somebody keep up with that? But in Midvale, where our average home value is, I think, around $440,000, hopefully, not that it won't be tough still, but hope that's just more realistic than I think what the state's approach has been. And so I think we deserve to pat ourselves on the back for that, and hopefully this is a good, successful program.
I hope so too.
Is that AMI something we can adjust, or are we, do we have to have it at 80%?
Well, the moderate income housing plan in the state code is really focused on the 80% AMI and below. And I think our restricted affordable housing funds are the same. So.
Unless or until that's changed, we're kind of stuck at 80.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion unless there's any other questions or comments.
Mayor, move that we suspend the rules and pass resolution number 2023 R49, providing consent to enter into an agreement with Salt Lake County for community development block grant funds to support the redevelopment agency's home repair loan program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Rory, will you call roll, please?
Yes, Councilmember Gettle.
Yes.
Sperry.
Aye.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
And Brown.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Item G, consider resolution number 2023 R50, consent to enter into a pass-through agreement with the Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City for community development block grant funding to support the Redevelopment Agency's home repair loan program.
So again, this is connected to the last agenda item. This is a pass-through agreement between Midvale City and the Redevelopment Agency to pass the $100,000 CDBG grant through the city to the RDA. It wouldn't be one lump sum. The way that the CDBG funding works is we would have to ask for, we would spend the money up front, and then we would reach out to the CDBG for reimbursement. So that means that the RDA would pay for the funding up front with the housing funds, and then ask for reimbursement through the city, who would then ask for reimbursement through the county. So.
I think everyone is going to know what word I'm going to use to describe this. Governmenty.
Yeah.
I appreciate us having the opportunity for you to use that word in the meeting.
In addition to passing the funds to the RDA, also the requirements that go along with the grant.
Okay, any questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and pass resolution number 2023-R-50, providing consent to enter into a pass-through agreement with the Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City for community development block grant funding to support the Redevelopment Agency's home repair loan program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, call roll, please.
Yes, Councilmember Sperry.
Aye.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
And Gettle.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. I have to say, generally, Rory, I say, Rory, will you please call roll? And I just said, Rory, call roll, please. And turning it from a question to a statement really made me feel like I was being aggressive. So, I hope you didn't take it that way. I could tell.
Calm down.
Getting a little crazy.
I'm good, Mayor, I'm good.
Mayor after dark.
All right. Item H, consider resolution number 2023 R51, authorizing Mayor Stevenson to execute an agreement with MHTN Architects for the Fort Union Boulevard corridor study. We'll hear from Bendeline.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is a contract for a study of the Fort Union corridor. This is very similar to the study we did on State Street. It's going to look at connectivity, at a framework for reinvestment, at possible zoning changes to create character districts, and also at the aesthetics of the corridor. And the budget for this came mostly from UDOT through a grant that we received with our own local match. And the group that we are proposing to hire, MHTN Architects, is actually a group we worked with before, for example, on the State Street study, and they have really done a good job for us. They've been very reliable. And I don't know if you have any questions. Here's the motion.
I have one.
Sure.
I mean, so this is, the Fort Union corridor, all the way through the city. Is Cottonwood Heights also doing one as it goes up further east?
No, this is just Midvale doing this. I believe Cottonwood Heights has actually spent some time on Fort Union in the past. They haven't really implemented that yet, but they, in that sense, they've maybe done some more work than Midvale has.
I mean, I don't know if they've got, because I mean, similar to the stormwater, right? I mean, if it's connecting, if we can get any benefit from looking at some of that, obviously this is different than the stormwater, but if we can see what the plan was further east and then coming here, I like it. I think we recognize that there's definitely areas of the Fort Union corridor that need to be, improved. If we can get ideas of how to do that, that's great.
Yeah, and we have a really good working relationship with Cottonwood Heights. So there's exchange with them, so that shouldn't be a problem with this.
Any other questions, comments for Vindeline? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to suspend the rules and approve resolution number 2023-R-51, authorizing Mayor Stevenson to execute an agreement with MHTN Architects for the Fort Union Boulevard corridor study.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Rory, will you please call roll?
Yes. Councilmember Robinson?
Aye.
Brown?
Yes.
Gettle?
Yes.
Sperry?
Aye.
And Glover?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Item I, consider resolution number 2023-R52, authorizing the mayor to enter into an engineering services agreement between Midvale City and Paul Hansen Associates LLC for the 2024 West Main Street Area Roadway and Utility Project. Kate?
Thank you, council, and thank you, Mayor. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Yes, so I'm bringing before you a request to authorize an agreement with Paul Hansen. Just to bring you up to speed, the West Main Street Area Infrastructure Study was recently completed by Paul Hansen. And essentially that study aimed at evaluating and providing recommendations for upgrading our utilities and our infrastructure so that we can ensure that we're keeping up with the demand as Main Street revitalizes. The next phase in this project is to do the actual design of these improvements. So given their prior involvement, we collaborated with Paul Hansen to put together a scope of work for their engineering services and their project management services to do the design and the development of the construction bid documents. Their anticipated completion date is July 1st of 2024, and the overall budget for this phase is $142,920. So sorry, that kind of just walks you through the phase. So we're at the green one here. We are asking council to suspend the rules if they were to move forward with this agreement, as they want to get the survey work done before we get a heavy snowfall. So the scope of work essentially will consist of design plans and the construction bid documents for culinary water improvements, sanitary sewer improvements, storm drain improvements, and then roadway construction improvements. As for where the funding is coming from, the funding for this project is coming from it's coming from where's the name of it? County of the First Class Highway Projects Fund, which per the Utah Code 72-2121. It provides funds that can be used for roadway congestion and safety improvements. Midvale City receives $500,000 a year, and they will receive that for the next 15 years. So that'll total over time the $7.5 million, which will go towards this project. And then, any questions?
So the funds that we receive from that, elitist county fund, but no, how often, we get that every year.
Yes.
And we have to spend that every year, or we can bank it for a couple of years for a project, or, if it's over 15 years, I'm sure there's something saying you can't save it up for 15 years, right? But what's the guidelines on that?
I was going to say, Nate knows more about the funding of the project, so
I'm
I'll
sure
let
we have
him
plenty of
speak to that.
projects we can spend all 500,000 every year. but-
Yeah, so not all of that will go towards this project, but yeah, the state code authorizes the 500,000 per year. It doesn't put restrictions on that, so we could put that towards, allocate that in the capital fund, which is what we're doing each year. We can save that up for a project. There's also the ability to bond against that if we need to spend the money up front on a project. So there's a lot of flexibility in that.
Okay.
So just to clarify, this is all for design work. This is not for any sort of engineering work on the street or on the sidewalks or curbs or anything like that, as far as what we're approving here tonight for the $105,000.
Sorry, I just.
142. Right?
Yeah, I just want to clarify,
sorry.
you mean that there won't be design services, engineering design services for the roadway? It's all, because there will be that, but they're not going to be physically doing the work.
See, I thought that I understood exactly what we were doing, but now I'm more confused here, because the way I read this is we're approving money for continued design work of this project. Obviously, the point being that when the design is approved, then we start actually physically changing Main Street.
Yes.
So we're not doing anything tonight that's going to result in actual people out on Main Street doing work right now.
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yeah. So this is just the design work. A lot of it's going to be office work. They're obviously going to go out and do survey, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't be until we had the actual design that approved
Yeah.
with the roadway improvements
Okay.
that we would then go out and
Because
for
we
bid.
have received, I think all of us up here have received some, complaints, some nicer than others about everything that's happening on Main
Yeah.
Street all at once. And unfortunately, we've had, a gas leak, a water main break, and no crosswalks for a bit and that sort of thing. So, tensions are running pretty high. And I just wanted to make sure that we are aware of that and mindful of that moving forward. So this,
course, yeah.
is going to be a survey. I don't think that should disrupt too many people, but, just moving forward, I think we need to make sure that we're mindful of folks who live here and have experienced some hardships so
Yeah,
far.
definitely. So after the design phase is completed in July, we are anticipating to go out to bid, which means that after that point, hopefully within a short amount of time, we will start construction. But yes, I think putting together a mitigation plan so that it has the least impact on the nearby residents and the people that work there.
Would this, I mentioned this to Councilman Gettle today. I remember, I don't know, it feels like months or years ago, I don't remember now, there was a project that sort of came to us that sort of this large residential project sort of on the south end of this image, sort of in between Unique and the bank, right? Would this design help further that along, or is that just never going to happen again, or?
So the reason why we're doing this now is because we know that a lot of projects like that one and like the buildings that have been demoed recently, the one on Depot and Main, that a lot of those are going to be coming in. This will facilitate those coming in better because all of this work needs to be done. There's mid-block electrical lines that actually run right over the tops of the buildings where those new buildings are gonna be. So one of the reasons why we want to.
So this would help it then?
This is gonna help all of those projects, and we're trying to do it as fast as soon as we can so that we disrupt as little as possible. A lot of this is gonna be on Stagg Street, where there isn't a lot of anything right now, and we want to do this before there is anything. So we understand exactly what you're saying, that we want to be mindful and try to, we know there's a lot of heavy construction that's going to go on Main Street in the next several years. We'll try to stage that. We'll try to make it as convenient as we can. But we actually are trying to do a lot of this infrastructure work up front so that it minimizes that disruption in the future. We don't want one of those developments going on the same time that we are basically digging up a street and putting all new utilities in. So that's one of the reasons why we want to get this done so quickly. But yes, it completely is trying to facilitate those developments that we want to see on Main Street.
Okay, if there are no further questions, comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to suspend the rules and approve resolution 2023-R52, authorizing the mayor to enter into an correction. 50.
No, go with
Is it
52.
52 or 50?
Go to 52. Go with 52.
Okay. Let me start over. I move to suspend the rules and approve resolution 2023-R52, authorizing the mayor to enter into an engineering services agreement between Midvale City and Paul Hansen Associates LLC for the 2024 West Main Street area roadway and utility project.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Rory, will you call roll, please?
Yes, Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Gettle?
Yes.
Sperry?
Aye.
Glover?
Aye.
And Robinson?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. All right, we got through our discussion items. Congratulations, everybody. We're gonna, action items. We're moving into discussion items. And the first one is Open and Public Meetings Act training. Hear from City Attorney Garrett.
Yeah, we thought with Councilman Sperry leaving and with Councilman Glover's birthday coming up, that we would save the most exciting training to the last meeting of the year. So we are required by state law to do an annual training on the Open Public Meetings Act. I'm going to try and keep it brief tonight, and we'll do maybe a deeper dive when we have Councilwoman-elect Billings with us, as this may not be as familiar to her.
Hey, Garrett, can we do this during the closed session part of the meeting?
We'll get there.
I was just wondering.
Yeah. That
It's on the agenda.
it would be fun. So, obviously, the legislative intent for the Open and Public Meetings Act is to have the public's business done openly and transparently, including any deliberations made by you as the governing body. I'm not going to read through these definitions, but this is where a lot of the rubber meets the road of trying to determine when are you in a meeting and when are you not. One of the things to point out is the definition of electronic meeting is very broad. It includes any form of electronic communication. And at least in Utah, one of the places where city councils get into the most trouble is by having meetings via email or text threads, where all of the council members are on a text message or on an email chain. And what was started out as an informational email suddenly becomes a discussion about an item that should be handled in a public meeting like this before the public. Things like meeting at parties, things like that, those are not meetings, even when you are council members and even when there's a quorum. For our purposes, state law establishes what the quorum is. For better or for worse, the mayor doesn't count when determining whether or not there's a quorum. It has to be 3 council members that vote on every item. The most important part, I think, for you to know is Rory is tasked with making sure the agenda is placed 24 hours in advance in a number of places, including online on the Utah Public Notice website, on our own website, and what is it, 3 locations or something fun like that.
Yeah.
But that has to be done 24 hours in advance of any meeting except for when there's an emergency meeting. Gratefully, we haven't had one of those for some time, and thank you, Councilwoman Robinson. Hopefully it'll stay that way. And one other place in which I think there is some confusion, we only have to provide an agenda to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. So the first few pages that you see every meeting, we just need to be specific enough that someone can come along, see what is being discussed, and understand what actions might be taken that night. We do not need to publish the packet in order to meet our notice requirement. The other part that a lot of councils run into is when you are taking a final action, you can only take a final action on something that's on the agenda. So if something comes up during public comment, it is absolutely okay to discuss it, but it is not okay for the council to be able to pass a resolution or something at that point. It will need to be put on another agenda for the council to take action on it.
Garrett, I have a question about that. My understanding with Robert's Rules of Order would be that if we voted to suspend our normal rules, that we could potentially do something like that.
No.
So
Robert's rules get trumped by state law.
Okay.
So
yes, I mean,
Open Public Meetings Act says if it is not on the agenda, you cannot take a final or formal action on it. So you may be able to direct staff to take intermediate action, but if it's going to require something with council approval, again, resolution, ordinance, something along those lines, it will need to be on an agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
A lot of times there is a difference between a public meeting and a public hearing. We have lots of public meetings, which the public is able to come and participate by watching, but not participate by necessarily providing input. A public hearing, on the other hand, is their opportunity to provide input and feedback directly to you and provide that public comment. So with some of the organizations that are public, have public meetings, for example, like our Harvest Days Committee, our Harvest Days Committee isn't required per se to receive public input, but they are required to have the public be able to attend and observe and see the business as it's being done. Closed meetings, gratefully, we don't have these all that often. State law provides very specific reasons for why we can have closed meetings. The only action we can take in a closed meeting is to vote to come out of a closed meeting. So we can't pass an ordinance, we can't pass a resolution, we can't take any sort of formal action as a council within a closed meeting. It is intended to discuss things that may otherwise be damaging to the city if they occur in a public setting, things like litigation, things like discipline issues, the purchase and sale of real estate, and so on. Common violations, I know a lot of you love giving Lisa a hard time, and now that I'm in this role, love giving me this hard time. I'm going to start with the after meeting where this meeting adjourns and then 3 council members get together and continue to discuss another item. You guys are very good about not doing that, but again, that is a common violation. In addition to one of the other concerns, right? The legislative intent is intended for all deliberations to be made in public. So messages about specific items that are being discussed that you will take action on it would be inappropriate to be sending Teams messages, text messages, emails back and forth, trying to make those deliberations in a non-public way.
Garrett, before you move on, that last one, the after meeting, I mean, I just wanted to comment on it, because, I mean, Lisa would make comments, you do too. And I just wanted to, because after the meeting, sometimes we'll be up here talking, and it's usually about just other stuff, right? But Lisa was always really good about like, hey, there's three of you, you know, even though other people can't hear what we're talking about. You know, we're talking about, I mean, maybe sports or something. I mean, just completely something different, right? But it's more of, she was even concerned of, hey, what's the optics? If somebody's looking, they're going to see three of you. They can't hear what you're saying. They may assume it's about a city topic. So, you know, even though we know we're not doing that, we should keep in mind even the optics sometimes.
Thank you for that. The minutes are required to be posted within a certain period of time and then posted again once they're approved. The minutes should cover the substance of everything that's been discussed and specifically provide a record of each individual vote. What happens when we violate the Open and Public Meetings Act? Probably the largest concern for the city is a lawsuit that would end up voiding a final action. So it's really important for us to follow this, especially when we're dealing with something controversial, when everyone is felt like they've been beat up and bruised going through a process. If we don't follow the Open Public Meetings Act, we may get to relive that again when that final action is undone because we did something wrong. We either didn't notice it correctly or whatever it might be. We can also have the state sue us to tell us to follow the Open and Public Meetings Act. As fun as that would be to have that as our headline, I hope that we all have a unified goal to say that the state AG suing Midvale City to follow the law would not be great optics. There is a criminal violation, though, that is also attached to this. So this is not for staff. It is clear that this is for council members, so it's important for you to realize that you have the responsibility of understanding this. If you enter a closed meeting for a reason that is not approved, it's potentially a Class B misdemeanor for a council member. And it may also result in the disclosure of those recordings in minutes, which, depending on what's being discussed, may be embarrassing or problematic for the city, depending on whatever is being discussed. So, you survived the greatest training ever. Is there any questions?
I do have a question. Let's just say theoretically. Theoretically, I'm planning a party that celebrates that Quinn will no longer be on this council. And I want to invite all the other council members.
It's tomorrow night.
Am I allowed to do that?
You are. So,
Just theoretical, of course.
Well, I'll expect my invite in the mail, but it does say that meeting does not mean a social gathering, right? So a meeting only is when it's being convened for the purpose of discussing, receiving comments from the public, or acting on a matter. So if you guys want to get together socially, as long as you keep city business out of it, and you're enjoying talking about sports, Quinn not being on the city council, whatever it may be, that's 100% appropriate.
I'm honored you throw a party in my name for that. No, but I think it's a good point, because I've had people talk to me about that too, that, you know, when it says chance gathering, but they'd say, you know, chance can also apply to the social, you know, chance social gathering, where you just, you know, you're there, and they're like, but a planned social gathering is not exempt. And I'm like, I don't interpret it that way, right? And in trainings, I don't think that's it, so.
You guys can ride in cars together to conferences as a quorum, again, as long as you don't talk about city council meetings. That's a somewhat similar example, right, of elected officials who have been so concerned about this and then having the attorneys who are dealing with these matters say that's a little bit overcautious, like you're saying, of I can only invite 2 of you to a party if you're the mayor, but only 1 of you if I'm a city council member, so I don't have a quorum or whatever. It's not intended to do that.
Those are the councils that don't get along well. That's the excuse they use. So.
Can you go back to the closed meeting information just for a second? It's concerning. I mean, I don't think I remember being told that it's a Class B misdemeanor to violate the Closed Meeting Act. But my question is, so if it takes 4 of us, if there's 5 of us, it takes 4 of us to vote to go into a closed session. If it was 3 and 2, it would fail, because you have to have a 2/3, I think, majority.
I don't think that's accurate. I think it's just any other motion.
Okay.
So
Be that as it may. So if one of us were uncomfortable with that closed meeting and we voted no to not go into a closed meeting, would that shield us from that sort of Class B misdemeanor liability?
I think it would be, I mean, putting on my prosecutor hat, which I would never prosecute any of you, not because of, there's obviously conflict of interest there. So if there is a concern that this is going to get conflicted out. But if I were put in that seat, that would certainly be something I would be considering, right? Because my responsibility as a prosecutor is to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone had the intent to do that. And so in that particular case, if a council member is saying no, that would be pretty difficult for me to be able to prove that that was their intent to illegally enter a closed session. I would say if you feel that strongly about it, though, if you have a concern, another way to protect yourself may be to remove yourself from the meeting, if you have any concern to that.
Like get up and walk out.
Yeah.
And I don't think I generally feel uncomfortable with closed sessions no matter what they are. I mean, I think that the more we can do with the public in full view, the better. I mean, unless it opens us up to some sort of legal liability. But, there have been times, even when you go into a closed session for a certain reason, the conversation can easily go into a different direction. So is that something we should be mindful of as well once you're in the closed session, not to say like, hey, how about that festival lighting on Main Street?
Yes, you need to remain on message. And at least the closed sessions that I've been involved with, I will say I think each of them has been for a useful purpose that had we discussed outside of a closed session, there would be potentially either a legal ramification or a financial implication of the city not being able to get the best deal on a particular piece of property or whatever it may be, or at least a fair deal on a piece of property. But yes, that's an important thing, is to remain on point of what the purpose is and to not deviate from that. And hopefully we together, I mean, I know staff is pretty sensitive about that, of trying to make sure we stay within those bounds for a number of reasons.
It feels a little bit, and maybe I misunderstood you, like if the state's, spirit of the rules are, council members can't, as long, one-on-one can't be like, oh, what are your thoughts on this, right? That's going to be an action item, right? Because that's sort of deliberating on a topic. I mean, that feels like a rules for thee kind of thing, because the state does infinitely more complex things than we do, and they'll like 180 on stuff that clearly is done, not in the public, right? So you're saying I can't? I thought it was like I couldn't with 3 of us, right? Like a voting group, like I couldn't text Paul and Dustin, this morning and say, hey, on this public hearing, I'm going to vote no. Well, and you guys should vote no. Right, and not,
You're elected officials, right? So
Yeah.
you're allowed to lobby each other. You're not allowed to make decisions together as a body outside of the public. And yes, I mean, I'm a bit biased because I work in local government, and it feels like the most strict rules fall on local government to follow. We have different and more stringent ethical rules that the state legislatures do not have to follow. We also, when there is a carve out for you to be able, as a state legislature, to keep personal documents and correspondence out of being grandma'd, or in this particular case, when a political caucus meeting that happens in the Capitol during the legislative session with the majority of legislators is not open to the public. There are definitely some mixed signals, but there are no mixed signals for the local government.
Garrett, I have two very rapid fire questions, if you don't mind. One is something we've often been told to be careful of social media. So if someone from the community says, I hate this building, and then I jump in and say, well, the good things about this building are X, Y, and Z. Then an hour later, Bryant comes through and says, well, some other things you might want to consider are this and this. That we've been told is okay. Where we've been told it may not be okay is if then a third council member comes in and says, well, I disagree with everything that's been said so far, and then a fourth or a fifth.
Yeah.
So is that something you would recommend us not do still?
I would recommend that you be very sensitive about it. And again, because the electronic meeting is anything using electronic communications, essentially when a quorum of you, so 3 of you, are using those electronic means to discuss, receive comments about, or act on a matter that is going to come before you, I would be very cautious about doing that. I would recommend that only at maximum 2 of you be engaging on that. That doesn't mean that the rest of you can't be aware of those comments, but I would be very cautious about beginning some sort of any type of conversation that could be seen as some sort of discussion where the city council is generating policy, because you are not. It hasn't been noticed. The entire public isn't aware that it may be going on, and so on.
But if someone on the Midvale community page was like, I hate the, splash pad, and 4 of us were like, I take my kids there, or grandkids, or my dog there, like, that's different, right? Because that's not acting or even contemplating or discussing something that's relevant to legislation or anything, right? That's just.
It's a very fact-specific analysis. So, I mean, depending on what that delves into, that may be a violation. If it's just, we disagree and we like the splash pad, and it's clear that you're talking as an individual and not a city council member, that may be appropriate.
That's the other question I had. Well, I had 2 more. One real quick. So if we're using our personal social media accounts, nothing that says Councilmember Bryant Brown, how is there any sort of difference between doing that if all 5 of us, or 6, including the mayor, use our personal social media to comment on something that's happening in like a public discussion? Is that not okay?
The Open and Public Meetings Act doesn't distinguish really when you have your hat on and when you have your hat off. So if it appears that you're discussing, receiving comments for, or acting on a matter, you are a city council member, period. And so even if 6 of you are saying, I'm logging on as Dustin Gettle, private citizen, and I'm making that comment, and then, I'm logging on as Heidi Robinson, private citizen, regardless of whether or not you have your official title or it's your official political page that you're making that comment from, this act would apply because of who you are, not the medium you're using. Any other questions? Thank you.
We appreciate it. Looking forward to doing that again in January with Bonnie.
At some point in the future.
Okay.
January 2nd, got it.
Thank you. All right, second discussion item, discuss conveyance of park adjacent to Zions/Jordan Bluffs to Midvale City. We're gonna hear from Adam. And we don't have a closed session tonight, so after that, we'll adjourn this meeting, before we head into the RDA meeting.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item is a discussion on the park conveyance area near the Zions campus. So in 2021, in November, there was a plat approved that identified a parcel that would be used for park and open space purposes. After the 2 years have since passed since that was approved, or nearly 2 years, and the park has been completed, it's been inspected. As Dave can tell you, I've been out there a number of times doing different inspections, making sure that everything is where it needs to be and all the improvements were in as called out on the specific plan. Also, there were representatives from Public Works, specifically their Parks Division out there, to make sure that everything was installed as needed to be, that the warranties were in place, that the sprinkler systems were working. And they will also go out in the spring with representatives from Gardner when the sprinklers are turned back on to make sure that everything is functioning as it should. And so tonight, I just wanted to bring this before you. We will be bringing this back because as staff, we do recommend that it be conveyed to the city and that the park officially be open to public use. We have had some questions on that in the past, and the answer has been, while no one will stop you from going out there, it is not officially a city park yet. The conveyance of this will make that official and open it to the public. It also then means that we as the city will maintain it moving forward. This was also anticipated in the development agreement, section 331 of that amended and restated development agreement for this area basically states that as development occurs in phases, that sections of the park directly adjacent to those phases will be constructed and then conveyed to the city for either ownership and/or ownership and maintenance. Being this is the first phase, we anticipate future phases. Ultimately, this will be a 15-acre park along the west side of that bluff area overlooking the river. And as I said before, we are prepared to bring a resolution before you for formal conveyance. I can answer any questions. We also have Dave from Gardner here as well, and go from there.
Adam, I do have a question. Will we do conveyance each time one of those phases of the park is completed?
We will do conveyance for property, but there will also be a resolution of acceptance of park improvements for maintenance. If we already, let's say we already own a piece of the property and the park, the next phase is built on that, if it's called out in a plat, then we would do a resolution of acceptance for those improvements.
Adam, I just wanted to note, I did know that it wasn't technically a public park yet, but I will also say, as someone who has used the park, it is very nice, and I hope the views stay as they are now, because when you're at that park around dusk, you see just every bit of mountain that you could hope to see. So I think it's going to be a great asset to the community. And I think we all know people are already using it in the public. So I've heard nothing but good things from residents of my council district who the cafeteria at Zions is open to the public. When it gets warmer, I think we'll be able to get some food and enjoy the park. I think it's going to be a great thing for not only the Zions workers, for people who live in that area now and people who are going to live there in the future.
Yeah, as that area continues to develop and its future phases are built, I think that'll be a real highlight, a real area that Midvale can look at and people can be proud of. And like you said, the views are fantastic up there, both to the west and south, and hopefully to the southeast as that development continues. So.
And if you really get high on the swing, you can kind of go parallel to the mountains. It's pretty fun. It's as if you're jumping over the mountains.
Elevation.
Yeah. Elevation.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Adam?
All right, we'll bring that to you at perhaps the next council meeting. If not that one, the other one in January, but it will be before you in January.
Okay, thank you. All right, we do still have the RDA and MBA tonight, but I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Mayor, I would request a 5-minute break.
Can we get a second first?
Oh,
Okay,
second.
all in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned. We will take a 5-minute break before
Thank
we
you,
enter the
Mayor.
RDA.
There's just too many of them.
Unbelievable. All right, everybody's so chatty. I know it's already 9:20. Welcome, everybody, to the Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City. Rory, when you're ready, if you would just call roll, please.
Okay. Board Member Glover.
Here.
Sperry.
Here.
Gettle.
Here.
Robinson. Here. And Board Member Brown has left for the evening.
Thank you. He is excused.
Excuse.
All right, we'll move into public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda tonight may address the Redevelopment Agency of the Midvale City Board at this point by stepping to the microphone and stating their name for the record. Do we have any public comments? Okay, I'm tempted to go make sure that it's on the record that we all thank Quinn again, but it's all right. We'll spare it.
Well, Sperry. Sperry.
All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. We got two items. Consider minutes of. You should roll your eyes. That was a pretty good impression of me. Okay, we have two items. On the consent agenda. Consider minutes of November 14, 2023, and consider resolution number 2023-18 RDA establishing the time and place to hold the Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City meetings for the 2024 calendar year.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Rory, we call roll, please.
Yes, Councilmember Gettle.
Yes.
Excuse me, Board Member. Gettle.
Yes. Still yes.
Glover.
Aye.
Sperry.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Moving on to our first action item of the night, consider resolution number 2023-19 RDA, consent to enter into a pass-through agreement with Midvale City for community development block grant funding to support the Redevelopment Agency's home repair loan program. Maggie.
Okay, so this is the same item that was on the council agenda. We now just need the board's approval to enter into this agreement between Midvale City and the Redevelopment Agency to pass through the funds and CDBG requirements for the grant funding for the home repair loan program. If you have any questions, it's the same item.
If there are no questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and pass resolution number 2023-19 RDA, providing consent to enter into a pass-through agreement with Midvale City for community development block grant funding to support the Redevelopment Agency's home repair loan program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on that. Any further discussion? Rory, we call roll, please.
Yes, Board Member Glover.
Aye.
Sperry.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
And Gettle.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, to round out this government-y
Can I
CDBG, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh,
I just want to make sure I read this item.
thank you.
Item B, consider resolution number 2023-20 RDA, consent to amend the first amended and restated agreement with NeighborWorks Salt Lake to administer both the home repair loan and down payment assistance program.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, we entered into agreement with NeighborWorks Salt Lake to administer those two programs. Now that we have been awarded the funds and are entering into an agreement for the CDBG funds, we just need to make sure we're including those CDBG requirements so NeighborWorks agrees to comply with those.
Any questions or comments for Maggie?
I didn't want to leave you out from earlier. Do you want to wear the tie to ask to suspend the rules?
What for?
That's Keith's thing. When Keith asked us to suspend the rules, we know he wears a tie, so.
My question for you is, do you remember my name?
Magnolia.
Close.
Very close.
I'll take it.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and pass resolution number 2023-20 RDA, providing consent to amend the first amendment. Wait, let's do that again. Amend the first amended and restated agreement with NeighborWorks Salt Lake to administer both the home repair loan and down payment assistance programs.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, we call roll.
Yes, Board Member Sperry.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gettle.
Yes.
Dan Glover.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. I've got to say, I think Keith is going to be pissed when he realizes that we don't make others wear a tie.
And Maggie, it was Heidi who was saying like, her name's in it, you gotta call it something.
I actually pointed out what your name really was, just
No, that was like in the earlier meeting. She's like, here's her name. You can call her by an M. And I was like, no. But then when you asked for it. So.
All right,
Item
Item C, consider resolution number 2023-21 RDA approving the term sheet between the Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City and 7718 Main Street LLC for participation on the Main Street Facade Improvement Program.
To begin, can you just introduce yourself to me? Because apparently they don't think I know anybody up here.
Yes. My name is Kate Andrus, Redevelopment Agency Program Manager.
I had to ask, is Heidi didn't know your name?
Quinn, I want you to know
I
that
figured.
was for
I saw the concern in your
I know, I
face.
like this.
Who's that?
Well, earlier Heidi was saying this. She said what did you say earlier? Something on that, and I thought she said slide when she was saying the facade.
Yeah, I did.
And I was like, what slide thing are you talking about?
I also go by
misunderstood her.
Tall Girl, so there's that.
I know. I will let everybody know. Yeah, sorry, we're losing.
Okay, it's fine. Yep, we're good. Okay, so I just, as a brief reminder, on October 3rd, the RDA board approved amendments to the facade grant program. Following these amendments, 7718 Main Street, which LLC, which owns the Bake Building, so Jeff Beck, submitted an application for funding through the program. Agency staff, we assessed the application for completion, and then we took it before the Facade Improvement Advisory Board for their recommendations, which we are now bringing before the board for their approval. So just a brief rundown on what their application included. The scope of work for their facade improvements include a new opening for an entryway, which with it comes some structural updates that will be needed. Brick repair, the addition of new architectural elements that would have appeared on the building from the same period, a new entry door for the new entryway, and then new windows. This is just kind of some visuals of the building. This is what it looked like in the past, in its former glory. The present is what it looks like as of right now, and then the future, that's a rendering of what it'll look like once the improvements are complete. There were 3 objectives that they had to fulfill as part of the program. The first one is to provide a noticeable contribution to the Main Street revitalization efforts. The advisory board and staff believe that the improvements, because they're taking place on one of the most prominent buildings on Main Street, and because of the fact that it's activating a currently vacant and blighted building, that it meets that objective. The second objective is to be consistent with the aspirational character of and vision of Main Street. We believe that the restoration of the brick and the installation of architectural features will contribute to the look and feel that we're hoping to have. And the last one is to support and enhance pedestrian accessibility. The intended use of this building after the renovations are done is to be a restaurant, which definitely contributes to the activation of the street. So the committee recommendations based on the provided budget and the allowed amount being up to $75,000, given that it's only 50% of the total project, is $75,000. With the recommendation to have an easement of 10 years, which would be put in place once the improvements are done. Some additional terms of the agreement. As stated before, the grant award can't be more than 50% of the total cost, and it'll be provided as a reimbursement once all of the work is completed. The funding can only go towards those improvements that have been approved as part of the scope. The person that receives the grant has to agree to maintain and keep in good repair the facade or improvements. And then if the building is currently vacant, which this is, the applicant has to demonstrate a plan for achieving occupancy and securing a tenant within 12 months of the project completion date. So we are working with the property owner on that. And then I don't have a tie, but we are asking to suspend the rules because they do have some prospective tenants that want to come in, so they want to get the to start the improvements as soon as possible. They are here tonight if you have any questions. And yeah.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I just wanted to make a comment. I was happy to be on the facade advisory board. That was a very fun experience. This was the topic a few weeks ago. I very cryptically told you guys that something was coming up that you were going to like, and this is it. So I did want to mention, though, for transparency, the original recommendation was an easement of 20 years, and I recommended in that meeting to cut that down to 10 because I felt that for $75,000, a 20-year easement seemed to be burdensome to any owner, and in my opinion, and that was, I think, shared by the rest of the advisory committee. So that's why you may have seen in the past that it was a 20-year easement. This one is only a 10. I felt that was more fair and equitable for everyone.
Yeah, that's correct.
Do we know what type of restaurant's gonna go in? Or is that, I don't need, I mean, great, no, but you don't need to tell us.
It's gonna be some sort of food.
Cool.
Food related. Okay, good.
For those online who couldn't hear that, it's a food-related restaurant that will be amazing if Mr. Jeff Beck can land it.
Well, thank you for doing this.
And Jeff, I appreciate your patience tonight. I know this meeting is a little extra silly with Councilmember Sperry's outgoing. It's a little off the rails, so I appreciate the patience. There's no other questions or comments. I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and adopt resolution number 2023-21 RDA, approving the term sheet for a grant agreement between the redevelopment agency of Midvale City and 7718 Main Street LLC for participation in the Main Street Facade Improvement Program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, will you call roll, please?
Yes, Board Member Robinson.
Aye.
Gettle.
Yes.
Glover.
Aye.
And Sperry.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. We'll move on to item D, consider resolution number 2023-22 RDA authorizing the chief administrative officer to enter into an agreement between the redevelopment agency of Midvale City and Le Monde Studio, Inc. for the design and construction of festival lighting on Midvale, Maine.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll just kind of do a brief rundown of what has brought us to this point. So in March of 2023, the RDA received grant funding through Salt Lake County through their track, they call it track support grant. We were awarded $200,000 in grant funds for the installation of festival lighting. And with that, the RDA is to match, provide $187,700 as part of this project. While that was going on, agency staff was working with Workshop Design on the Urban Streetscape Design Study, which was approved on October 17th. This study provided the preliminary design of the festival lighting for Main Street. Once that was adopted, or I guess right before, we did begin the procurement process to solicit bids for vendors that would do the design and installation of the festival lighting. That process took a little bit longer than normal. I will say that we initially put it out for bid, and we had a lot of interest. We had people who attended the pre-bid meeting, but no one submitted any bids. After going back to them and asking for feedback, there was some concern about inadequate funding to cover the cost of providing power to the street. So agency staff went and talked to Rocky Mountain Power about how hard this would be, and it was decided that we would, as an agency, work with Rocky Mountain Power separately from a separate funding source, but work in conjunction with the vendor to put the lights in, so that that wouldn't be a cost that would be attributed to this project. So we, per the procurement rules, posted it again and waited the standard amount of days. That lapsed, and then we were able to go out and solicit individual bids. And in doing that, we did get 4 bids, 4 qualified bids, and I guess I will go on to the Le Monde Studio Inc. proposal, who we're recommending as the selected vendor for this project. They provided a project budget that matched the amount of funding we had available. They also provided the quickest project timeline. They're able to start tomorrow, actually, and then they their anticipated completion date is April 6th. Now, that is not barring any sort of delays that we might have with Rocky Mountain Power. Le Monde Studio is providing over 10 years of experience with over 700 projects within North America. They really specialize in interactive art and light technology. They've done a lot of the festival lighting, but at the same time, they've also done a lot of installments that call for participation by the public. And then there's just a list of some of the places where they have installed some of their art installations. And then, so I'll just go back to this really quick. So with their schedule, they anticipate having the final design for approval in January, and then they would start construction after that. They do all of their own fabrication in-house, and they would do the installation as well. So that's anticipated to take place late winter and early spring. I do want to note that the completion date per the guidelines of the TRAC grant is actually March 31st, so the April 6th date would be after that. I've already been in contact with Salt Lake County, and they are okay with extending the deadline. So I will be returning at a later date with that amendment for the extension.
Quick question on that. So you said April 6th is assuming we don't hit any hiccups with Rocky Mountain Power. So, I mean, I guess, is that being communicated to the county that, and do we have feedback from them that we think April 6th, but that's already behind their timeline, and if we run into other issues?
Yeah, so we came on, we agreed upon a deadline of July 1st, just to add some of that leeway in case we do run into some delays with Rocky Mountain Power, and they were fine with that.
Thank you.
Some other key terms of this design build agreement, they have to maintain an overall budget of that 387, and that has to include the design, the labor, the cost of installation, any materials that they're going to use. We're asking that they develop a visually captivating and creative lighting design plan for the festival lights. That design will be submitted to us for approval. Once we approve the design, we'll then have to execute an amendment that sets forth the terms of the actual construction of the project. So in that very thick printout I've provided, you'll see that Amendment A is one that doesn't have all of the information in it, and that's because we're unable to provide it until we get the actual design. They're going to prepare the construction docs and provide the services required for the fabrication and the procurement and installation of the lights. They're also going to take sole responsibility and control over the construction, the techniques, the sequences, and procedures to execute all of the work that is listed under the contract. And then the last part is that they will have to agree that all work will be completed by July 1st, which is the date of the deadline for the grant. I went over the fiscal impact, but again, a large chunk of it is coming from a grant. We are committing matching funds for that, and yeah, any questions?
Do they have a warranty on their work?
Yes, they do have a warranty, and that's all built into the agreement. I believe that the structure was a lifetime warranty, barring that there weren't any sort of outside forces that damaged the structure. And then they aren't fabricating the lights, so they'll be purchasing that from a retailer, and that comes with a standard warranty as well. But,
And so if they're a different vendor, will they take care of the warranty, or the lighting people that make the lights, are they gonna take the warranty? That ought to be spelled out somewhere.
I believe it is spelled out in the agreement, but yeah, so the warranty is gonna come with the retailer that they purchase it from, but it'll cover the lights that they install for us.
And I'd just be real careful that you make sure you know who's gonna take care of it, spelled out.
Will we, the RDA board, be the ones who will approve the final design? You said we, and I didn't know who you meant by we.
So it's not spelled out as to who, it just says the RDA. If the board would like to be the person that approves the final design, then I think that would be, I would love to bring it to you guys for the design approval.
I mean, honestly, not because I want to be the one who does it, but because I think that we are the ones ultimately who are held to account by our residents and voters. I think that that's the best idea for something that transforms the city this much and has such an impact.
Yeah, we'll bring that back for you guys to approve.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and pass resolution number 2023-22, RDA, authorizing the Chief Administrative Officer to enter into an agreement between the Redevelopment Agency of Midvale City and Lamond Studio, Inc. for the design and construction of festival lighting on Midvale, Maine.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, we call roll, please.
Yes, Board Member Gettle,
Yes.
Glover,
Aye.
Sperry,
Aye.
and Robinson.
Aye.
That passes.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Let's jump right into it. Welcome, everybody. It's 9:42 p.m. Welcome to the Midvale City Municipal Building Authority meeting agenda. Pierce, I don't know if you actually need time on anything on it. Okay. Of December 6, 2023. Rory, would you call roll?
Yes, Board Member Gettle,
Here.
Sperry,
Here.
Robinson,
Here.
and Glover,
Here.
and Board Member Brown is excused.
Okay, thank you. Moving into public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda tonight may address the Municipal Building Authority Board at this point by stepping to the microphone and stating their name for the record. Do we have any public comments?
Nope, and we never have.
Seeing none, we'll move into the consent agenda. 2 items, consider minutes of June 6, 2023, and item B is consider resolution number 2023-03 MBA establishing a time and place for holding the Midvale Municipal Building Authority meetings for the 2024 calendar year.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Quinn, appreciate you.
Thank you.
Rory, we call roll, please.
Board Member Sperry,
Well, Councilmember Brown is not here to hear this, but yes.
Robinson,
Aye.
Gettle,
Councilmember Brown is not here to hear this, and in honor of Councilmember Sperry, aye.
and Glover.
Aye.
Okay, passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We're adjourned.
Yes.
Thank you.